responded to. We didn't really get a great response or any response, to be honest with you. We came here the last time and we requested that we take some of the earnings from Measure P and give it back to the city in way of a reduction in the water enterprise. We never heard much back about it. Now, the water enterprise has a long history and a lot of it's confusing, but we really don't know where all the money is in the water enterprise. There was money left over in the enterprise that from the surface water treatment plant that we don't really know where it's at. But we believe it's a couple $1 million at least. In addition to you gathering about 1.7 million from the Measure P money, we felt that there was enough there to make a donation to the water enterprise so the people of Escalon could enjoy a little bit of lower cost of their water. Because we know that there's delinquencies in the water enterprise from people that can't afford to pay their water rates. I also feel strongly that the water rates today were artificially basically installed, and because of the way we handled the loan from the general fund from back in 1960, what was it, 69? And that money supposedly disappeared out of the water enterprise and supposedly moved into the general fund, leaving the balance of the money, which was from the surface water treatment plant, which we couldn't find. We know that it's there somewhere, but it's in there. But it also left the water enterprise in a vulnerable position, which allowed the staff and the city to raise the water rates 4 different times. To me, that was artificial. I don't think we were ever going to have a surface water treatment plant because we couldn't afford it. $15 million is a lot of money we don't have. We looked into having grants, we looked at other options. The bottom line is that $15 million is a pipe dream, and no pun intended. But the thing is this, if you really care about what you said and they're offering this sort of a gratuity or whatever you want to call it back to the taxpayers of this town, take it serious. You have the money there to do that. That money's there. And you're going to have to need help again someday because that's the way this government works. And they're just like all other governments, you're going to need money again. So don't burn the bridge. And that's really all I got to say. I would tell you this much as well, is that when I entered onto this committee, I was assuming that we'd be more involved in the actual accounting when the money first came in. We weren't. We were told that wasn't part of the project. That's fine. But it's a waste of my time to even do this because we don't accomplish anything. You know, you asked us to go out and get a survey from the people of the town, we did that. You asked us to come back with a recommendation, we did that. And here we are, how many months ago was the last time? 5 months ago, okay? No response. So, you know, what do you expect? You expect somebody to care enough to keep coming back and getting nothing? Well, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. It's enough. I think you guys need to look hard into your accounting and find that money to give these people in this town what they deserve, and that's a reduction in their water rates. Okay? That's all I got to say this evening. Okay.
Appreciate the input on that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Yeah, staff, is there anything that we can do to make these funds that we're hearing about that aren't transparent more available or easier to locate or identify?
I didn't hear in the presentation that funds weren't being made aware or being transparent. In the last presentation in January, they did make the Measure P committee, made several suggestions for items. The way the committee is set up is to make recommendations to the council on Measure P expenditures based on input from the community prior to budget discussions. So one time, this is the time before the annual budget adoption, which we plan to adopt on June 1st, and then one time prior to mid-year. You will recall we didn't make any adjustments to mid-year budget. But there were several suggestions that were provided. Several in the police area, matching salaries to neighboring cities, incentives to encourage officer relocation, bonus for longevity, improvement to city retirement package. There were a couple under the recreation banner, a dog park, enhanced parks with equipment and amenities and walking, biking trails. And then a couple under the general banner, city utility bill decrease, which was presented today, welcome to Escalon signs, and major corridor beautification. So staff has and is working on several of these items. Of course, council has not weighed in or deliberated on that, on specific use of funds, as there are several items to explore. And the intent of the presentation for tonight was to make some recommendations prior to the adoption of next year's fiscal budget and those funds. We have met with the Measure P committee several times since they have formed, to share with them everything that we know to date, all the money, what exactly has been collected so far, where it's been spent each month. In fact, each meeting, we have information in the packet, and Celinda goes over that. We don't feel like there's any hidden information. It's very clear. We just haven't made decisions yet on exactly where the bulk of that money should go. We have made decisions: salaries, UALL pay down, the PERS pay down, economic development, which again, we'll talk about tonight. So we've made several decisions, but there is a little bit of money that was collected last year that hasn't been allocated yet.
Well, I appreciate the update. I think maybe my question wasn't specific enough. I think the missing funds that were asked about in Mr. Alves' presentation was in regards to the Water Enterprise Fund. So while that is outside of Measure P, it does draw a question in my mind that can we make that information more available or more transparent if they're unable to find or locate what they see as missing funds in our budget?
Not to interrupt you, but I almost think that this has come up multiple times, not only from you guys, but in the past. It's enough of a red flag for me to think that we should probably have a discussion on it and bring this information, because I'm not seeing anything obvious that's saying there's hidden funds, but if there is, then, or not hidden, but they're misallocated in some way, then I would obviously want to make sure we, fix that and do right by the citizens.
Well,
So-
Mr. Mayor, my thoughts, are you and Councilmember Engel finished?
Yeah, that was my statement on it.
Councilmember Engel, did we cover everything you wanted to discuss?
No, I don't think I've gotten a response from staff yet.
So
If I can chime in too, in response to that, I think I've heard from previous council members that one of the issues is when you come in as a new council, as you all are within the last 5 or so years, and we have new city staff, that you may not be aware of things that have transpired in previous years. So I've gone back through all of the audits, one by one, page by page, from 2009. There has been several turnovers in the companies that we have used for these audits. We currently are making a proposed budget with the last audit being done in 2023. We have nothing forward unless it's just not posted on the website. If you go back through these audits and actually read the funds and the money, you will find there are discrepancies. There's not only discrepancies in money going out, that it does not specify where it is gone, but the names of the funds also change. They went in 2009, it specifically said water fund, and it lists everything that comprised of that fund. When you go to more recent, it just says water fund. It does not show the loan that Mr. Alves is speaking of was from 1969 when the water enterprise was initially purchased. It was a loan from the general fund for $459,410, and it was not paid back until 2011, at which time also another $860,000 was sequestered into the surface water treatment plant. As of right now, according to the numbers, we're looking at having a total of approximately, based on the budget at that workshop you put on, around 1.6 million in Measure P money. Of the original, which was estimated to be 980,000, bless you, only 140 of that was put to give back to the community in our eyes. It went to salary, it went to paying back or paying down the CalPERS, it went to economic development, which I think it was 150,000 for that. The community was left with 140,000. Now that number, according to the 1.6, should be about $760,000 that's available that could be used for the community. We voted on this based on what the ballot read. Using the money for the general fund or any deficit within any of our funding was one of the last items listed. That doesn't mean that we didn't anticipate this was going to happen, but I think I was sold an idea that we were going to fund a specific amount of things, maybe not dollar amounts, but what the money was going to go to. And I think that the council or staff made decisions as to where the money would go without having this committee. Our frustration is we went out there, we asked the public, we gave you a variety of ideas. Personally, don't hate me for saying this, but I don't want to pay an extra cent or 1% sales tax to be paying off your retirement. What are we getting in return? We had a Measure P meeting in which you stated to me, Celinda, that the current rate for tier 1 for water was either 113 or 119 per 1,000 gallons. That is 100% inaccurate. It's 190 or $1.98 per 1,000 gallons. But when you look at the water study from 2019, it lists that it would be $1.98 in this year. And then if you go right below that in the fine print, it says it's $1.12 for tier 1. The water study contradicts itself in a whole. What I want to know is if there is room to take money from this surface water treatment plan that doesn't seem like it's going to come to fruition, or there's an excess of money. As of the audit in 2023, there was $14.4 million in the water enterprise. What are we doing with it? Why can't we give it back to the community and lower our bills a little bit?
I think obviously there's some difference in opinion or difference in interpretation or something in these numbers that maybe I'm not fully appreciating. So my personal feeling is that we should probably have a clear, distinct discussion on it. And rather than doing it in this time frame we have here, is actually bring it back for an agenda item and have it discussed properly. I don't know if the council feels that way or not, but
I have all the documentation I can provide to the council in advance with everything that's spelled out in all of the audits, the specific pages.
Well, one of the things I would like to say is, first of all, Ms. Vargas, thank you for maintaining your composure and not stomping off like a child when we weren't listening to what he was having to say.
Well,
I appreciate your patience. Secondly, City Attorney, can you remind the constituents what the ballot language said for the Measure P?
It said, well, the ballot questions specified various sources,
Frank,
things.
I actually have it pulled up right here. Would you like me to read it?
You can read it, but I will say, I'll highlight one thing that's in it. What I was going to say was it provided different examples, but it said for general governmental purposes, because it's a general sales tax, not a special sales tax. So it provided illustrative examples, and it said for general governmental purposes. So yeah, you can go ahead.
Our specific ballot language, and I was not a council member at the time that this was approved and added, so I have no skin in this game. I've just heard this repeatedly misinterpreted is the word that, I kind of want to use there. To protect Escalon's long-term financial stability by funding Escalon services such as maintaining 911 response, neighborhood police patrols, recruiting, retaining police officers, repairing streets and potholes, protecting essential drinking water sources from pollution, maintaining Hogan Park, youth sports leagues, and for general governmental use, shall the city of Escalon adopt a 1-cent sales tax providing approximately $900,000 annually until ended by voters, requiring audits, public spending, disclosures, all funds benefit Escalon residents be adopted.
Okay, so to that point, you came to us with ideas, okay? we're working, well, staff is working on some of those ideas. Because we're not just blatantly cutting blank checks for water rebates, we're still working on those goals. And I
Do
can't.
you believe that to be fact? Because I will say, for a matter of fact, in the meeting that we had in April for Measure P committee, we were told that we brought nothing to the council.
No.
That we did not seek out anything to bring to you.
Yes, I believe that for a fact. One of the ideas that you stood there and said is, hey, council, one of the ideas that the community came up with was a welcome to Escalon sign.
Mhm.
Staff, are we working on a plan for a welcome to Escalon sign?
Yes, we are.
So we're working on things. I appreciate what you're saying. I can't speak for the other four, but I don't just want to start arbitrarily writing a blank check for water rebates if we don't have the documentation from our finance director to support that.
Well, I think that the issue is not with your finance director, it's with the finances in previous years. And I think that you as council members should become aware of what is in those audits and also be questioning where is the audits for the last 2 years?
And we are fully aware of where those audits are.
And where are they, for the record?
Staff?
Currently, we have a audit.
I just want to chime in here. We're getting pretty far afield from the Measure P committee update. This is not turning into an audit of the audit. This is an update on the Measure P's committee's recommendations for this year's budget. So just keep that in mind.
So hold tight for a sec.
Sure.
Can you go ahead and answer the question? And then after that, I just want to make a statement and we'll go from there.
The 2024 audit is in process. We had to get a new auditor. We pretty much lost a year working with an auditor that was never going to finish the audit, cut bait and got a new auditor. It's being processed now. 2025 should come right after it. It's an unfortunate situation that we.
Okay, so I think,
Thank you.
The
That's
only-
what I'm saying. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. And we're working on some of those ideas you previously mentioned.
We just haven't
Okay.
heard anything, so we're just.
okay, we'll get more information to you. In the meantime, I do think we should bring a discussion regarding this water enterprise thing. Try to at least clear the air and find out where the hangup is or hook, because if there is money that's been moved way before you've been here and stuff, and we're just not seeing it, obviously we should be aware of that. If there isn't, it just looks like there's something going on and there really isn't, then we want to know that too. So I think for the idea of being transparent and being clear and understanding where funds lie and what we are going to potentially allocate those funds for, I think we need to probably clear that up. So, I mean, I don't know if I can bring it up right now, but I'll bring it up at the end of council communication to see if we can address that. Okay. Thank you.
That all?
Is that,
Used?
I mean, I have a question. Does that conclude your suggestions for our upcoming budget is the water rebate?
For me personally, I
mean, for the Measure P, I mean, that's what
I
the
mean, I
president-
think the committee is just frustrated as a whole as to we did the work that was asked of us and we have not heard back yet. The community has not heard back yet. If there's private discussions going on, I mean, the community is just sitting here wondering, we see the money is increasing, how much we're getting, but what of it are we benefiting from? I don't know. Was the grass used with that money or the sidewalks? Like, we just don't know.
Understood, and that has been brought up in communications. We are trying to get some of the bigger projects going. I mean, we are in our first year, almost. We're not even through our first year of money here. And it has been discussed that we would like to put some tags like brought to you by Measure P once we have some of those rolled out. They're not rolled out yet, right? And so it hasn't even come in. But that is a discussion. And I would love to be able to report back to you when those are finalized. And we are working on things like the beautification of the corridors and the welcome to Escalon signs and a lot of the suggestions that you did bring to council last time. So we'll try and be more transparent and more clear, at least with the committee, of how we're moving forward, or I'll suggest to staff, to be a little bit more clear with how we're moving forward on some of those suggestions as well. But I personally, I hear what you're saying. And we'll try to be more transparent with you.
I think the last I'd like to say is that the other, not concern, but we have an overage of funds. We only anticipated 980,000. We're headed towards 1.6 million. So not in speaking of the next budget, what are the plans for that extra money for this fiscal year?
What would the Measure P committee suggest besides water rebates?
Well, I would like, to.
I think you're being awful disrespectful to one of our committees that's out here trying to, present their concerns, Councilman Stroman.
I disagree, Councilmember
Have some
Engel, but please bring your suggestions to us. We're listening. Come with suggestions. We can listen openly and have this discussion.
Well, I think that as a single parent of 4 kids, the water rate is very serious to me.
Absolutely.
My bill is over $300 every 2 months. That is an area you can help. We've got another homeowner here who is feeling the same way as a single man with a huge house.
Well,
It's
I see what you're
realistic.
saying.
I'm not saying it's a realistic expectation.
Hey,
But
Gabriella, not to interrupt you, but I think this is better. This is a better venue if we bring it back to council and have a proper conversation about it. Otherwise, it's going to be back and forth, and we're just going to not get to a real productive spot. So I think I would propose if there's any other ideas that you haven't brought to us, let's make sure we get them. And then we get something in the discussion to go over this water enterprise fund to really understand where it has started, where it's at, so that we can have a better conversation on allocation of funds. That's going to be significant. Like if we put money in there and it's dropping the water rate $1, maybe it could be used in a better direction.
And
But if it's
with
like
that statement, Mr. Mayor,
$100, that's a big difference.
can I ask you a quick question? Has the Measure P committee been made aware of the dollar amount difference, the one-time difference it would make on a bill?
Yes.
Should we use it?
For the remaining $40,000 that we had, yes, it was said it would be $5 off.
So, I mean.
One time?
One time.
It was not specified.
Yeah, it was a single time because those funds only come in once. So even if you said it was, $700,000, you multiplied it by that, we're talking about $10 or $15, as a one-time discount.
And I completely understand.
It's-
I think that the other half of this committee is looking at something that'll be beneficial for all. Whereas when I initially approached and did something that different members of the community wanted, that was kind of looked down upon. I felt as well. So we
I think we actually explored quite a few of the options. I went and knocked on doors in the neighborhood asking about putting a dog park in, which was one of the suggestions that you guys had made.
I'm not saying that this was made at the hands of the council. I'm saying during our private Measure P committee, it was a very intense, frustrating meeting.
Okay.
Okay, we hear you.
Well, I'm sorry that was the case, definitely. And I appreciate everything that you do. Obviously, you bring forward much more data than most people do every time you step up to that podium. So I want you to know, we really do appreciate you up here.
So we'll go in and see if we can't get it a little more clear for everyone so we're all on the same page. Because obviously we want to do what's best for the community, and everyone's going to have a different opinion on what that might be. So I think it's probably, as far as the water enterprise thing, that's a separate issue. I think we look at that closer, and then we can come full circle on the Measure P stuff once we kind of have a bigger picture of where we're going with it. So.
I'll just quickly say, we won't take ownership or responsibility for past actions or, financing practices, but we haven't seen anything on the order of magnitude that's being suggested in the water enterprise.
That's why I want to look into it.
Yeah, what we'll do is we will meet with the Measure P committee to share the documents that they have. We can look into it further and we can, explore if there is something there. And further, I will say, my apologies. We did commit to bringing quarterly Measure P updates to the council. We missed the last one. We will stay on top of those and make sure we have those.
Sounds good.
I just want to reiterate before I go that I understand because I'm the one who did the research. It has nothing to do with this staff or council. These are from very far back.
Well, if there's things in the background that we need to be looking at that affects the here and now, then obviously we need to know that so we can navigate it properly. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and we'll definitely, address it. But like I said, at the end of council communication, I'll ask and see if we can't get consensus to reevaluate that. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So our next presentation looks like we have is the Goldback presentation.
All right, I'll do an intro here and maybe Trevin will add. This is a product, and we do have Goldback, which is a company, a private company here to make a presentation to council. This originally started, the topic started back, back in December of 2025 when council consensus directed staff to essentially notify and make businesses aware of the importance and the tier 1 aspect of gold. And thereafter, Trevin, in his duties, found this company, which is essentially trying to create a currency that has, I'll say infused, probably not the right word, gold actually infused in the currency. And so we thought it was apropos to that discussion back in December of 2025. We've since taken the topic to the Economic Development Committee as it deals with businesses 2 different times. And based on that discussion at the Economic Development Committee, we wanted to have the discussion at council. So again, it's just a presentation, private product. It's just related to the topic that was raised before, and that's why we're bringing this forward. So if there's anything Trevin has, or we can turn it over to the Goldback team who is online.
Any questions at all before we go to the team? All right, let's see what they have to say.
Brandon, are you speaking first? Brandon? Nod? Yeah.
There we go. Thanks. Yeah. So, hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Flack. I'm the Southwest Regional Sales Manager for Goldback. I've got some of my executives here with me. I'm joined by Nathan Hallows, our Director of Sales, and I also have Mr. Phil Eborn, who heads up our merchant business department, and also Kim Coleman, who handles government affairs. Phil will be providing the presentation. Please feel free to ask us any questions along the way about our product, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to speak with the council today. I'll hand it over to Phil now. Someone might need to unmute him.
Yep, doing that.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, my name's Phil Eborn, and my title is the Director of Community Development, and my job is to help businesses in your area learn how to accept what's called a Goldback as a form of payment. So, I don't know that I have the ability to share, but Trevin, did you have the presentation?
The presentation is up. That is correct. Everyone here can see it.
Can I pass these around?
Okay. Okay, so let's see. Hang on one second here. So our mission at Goldback is to provide an alternate currency that's inflation resistant. And so our company was formed in 2019. And it was developed to provide real value to people as they shop and as they continue to, provide for their families. We want them to keep some of that value in their own pockets. And so in 2019, we created this product. And and they talked about kind of what it is. Our product is a real 24 gold encased durable polymer. So it's gold that is atomized down, and it is to the molecular level, and that it is almost like 3D printed onto these sheets and then vacuum depositioned into a gold back. And one denomination of ours is 1/1000th of a troy ounce of gold. And today, the value of that one, it goes up and down daily. The spot price of gold is, I believe, I'm trying to get my app, was $9.08. It's been up to where it's been a little over $10, depending on where gold is. But to give you an idea of how much, when we started in 2019, a one gold back was worth about $2.20. So now they're over $9. So whereas the dollar has continued to lose its value, gold backs have increased their value. So that is our product. It comes in a quarter, a half, a 1, a 2, a 5, a 10, a 25, and a 50 denomination. We used to make 100, which you probably saw here on the artwork. We discontinued the 100 about a month ago because the value of that 100 was roughly around $1,000. Our goal is to have product that can be spent, that is fungible. Fungible means can be broken down, fractional, to be able to be spent. So we just continued the 100 because we felt like it was too expensive of a product for everyday families. We have a system of businesses that accept gold back. In California right now, there's pretty close to 200 that accept it. Across the country, we're at 5,200 businesses that accept gold back as a form of payment. And what that means is the merchant or the business has agreed that they will accept a gold back at the price of that exchange rate in exchange for goods. And so in order for that system to work, we need a distributor. And that's where Brandon comes in. He helps find somebody that is, or a business that can supply the gold backs, and we'll do the support on the business network and merchant network and helping consumers retain that value. So you have gold backs, you have an official distributor, consumers, and the merchant network. That's how our system works. The value of gold backs in circulation, when we started in 2019, there was 1.5 million gold backs in circulation. We started in Utah, and then we went to Nevada, Wyoming, New Hampshire, and South Dakota. And in recent years, we've gone to Florida, Oklahoma, Arizona. We just launched in Idaho, and we are launching in August in California.
His first name again.
So,
Can I interrupt you for a moment? Philip?
Yep. Any questions? Yeah, you
Yeah,
can.
Philip, thank you. I
ask
want
questions
to go
anytime.
back. So I personally have been purchasing gold backs for the last several years, just as an investment product. But I did
Okay.
hear you say a moment ago, so I bought it strictly as an investment product. But as far as consumers are concerned, I heard you just mention spot value and discontinuation of the $100 or the 100 gold back note, which you had an approximate valuation at spot at $1,000, but currently silver spot or gold spot sitting at $45.50 roughly per ounce, which would make the 10th ounce of gold, which would be your 100 gold back denomination at a value of $455.09. How do we get the valuation of $1,000 at 100 gold backs?
Great question. So we take it off of the spot value of gold, but our product does have a premium. It's basically double the spot price. So the technology to build the gold back, to buy the gold, all that's in there, it is double. So that $45.50 today would be, 900 and something would be the cost of a 100.
So the premium on it, like
5,000, it was.
The premium is 100%?
Yes. So that there is a premium on them, just like anything else, there's a premium on it. It takes a lot to manufacture these. Like I talked about, we have to break it down to the molecular level. There's patents that the company that makes these is out of Oregon. Their name is Valorum. They hold the patents, and the cost of making these is not a simple cost. The value in Goldback is you don't lose that premium though. So if there's a one and it's worth $9.08 a day, there's really $4.04 of gold in there, but you're buying it for $9.08. But your purchasing power stays at $9.08. You don't lose that premium. It stays with it, and it will continue to grow as gold grows. So if you bought it at 9 today and gold goes back up over 5,000, it'll be 10. And,
The premium makes perfect sense until we get to melt, essentially, right? So if we're in possession of the product and we're not able to have a merchant who accepts them, and we needed to liquidate that, we're looking at melt, which would be a definitive loss.
Yeah, we don't recommend anybody would melt them because one, it's a complicated process to melt it with a polymer, and there are videos out there of people who have melted them. You can do it, and you'll actually find, and most people are finding that when they do those experiments, that there's actually a little more gold in there than you say there is. But that's not the recommended process if you did need to liquidate them. There are distributors that will buy them back. Alpine Gold Exchange has a program called UPMA, United Precious Metals Association, where people can turn them back in and put on a card, a clear Visa, or is it? Yeah, it's a Visa card that they could then use. So there are options that we could talk about in more detail later, but there are plenty of options for them to be liquidated. We would not recommend melting them down.
Yeah, no, I think specifically talking about liquidation, you would get melt value, not necessarily melting the actual product. And hey, trust me, I believe enough in it to have purchased it even recently. So I think that there's value to it. I just need to understand how it's a value outside of an investment product, like how it can be beneficial for a business to incorporate that into their sales structure, so that it was economically viable both for the merchant and the consumer. Can you help us understand?
Yeah. So to liquidate it, you don't get it at melt value. Just to clarify, you would get it at the Goldback value. There might be a small fee, but it would not be the melt value if you were to liquidate it with one of our distributors. They have a minimum allowed pricing that they're allowed to go to, and that's it. And if they break that, they do not remain as one of our distributors. So yeah, you wouldn't lose that part. But I'll give you a couple of real life examples. So there are plenty of businesses that take it as a form of payment. Like I said, we have here locally in Utah, there's some franchises of Ace Hardware that take it. And you can go in there and buy anything. I went in there and bought a whole bunch of yard stuff just this last Saturday because I needed fertilizer, I bought hose, all that stuff. And they gave me the value of the Goldback in exchange for the product that I bought. Now they do a lot of business in Goldback, and to my understanding, sometimes they hold it as the owners are two brothers that they hold it, and they keep it as, like you were probably doing, as a stackable entity that they keep for a rainy day. But they also liquidate a fair amount of it through that UPMA. So they exchange it back, make it UPMA will vault it. Some of these bigger distributors will vault it for you, and then you can have it as a more liquid, disposable to like pay your light bill type of thing. So there are options out there, and there's a lot of businesses that buy stuff and then or get payment in and turn around and buy stuff from another merchant with Goldback. So there's another community that's similar in size to Escalon. It's called Vernal, Utah. They have 10,000 people. They have hundreds of merchants. I've been there many times. There's one place called the Freedom Mercantile. People go in, pay with gold back for milk, and then they'll turn around and buy a loaf of bread from somebody else with the gold back that they got, and they just exchange it back and forth. I've had my hair cut there, bought supplements from a store down the street. So that community is in part, not totally, but in part, using gold back as part of their ecosystem, their financial ecosystem. And that's the goal. Eventually, that's where we would like a lot of communities to get to.
So how does a business take advantage of that? So, they decide to trade in gold backs. There's folks in the town, they purchase the gold backs, they go to a retail establishment, they buy with that. How does the merchant in real time, like liquidate that money to pay their invoices, to pay their light bill, as you're speaking about in a minute? Like, how does it work or benefit a business? My questions may seem like I'm in opposition. I'm totally not. I think I'd be in favor as long as I have a good understanding of how it can be utilized and what the benefit would be, both for the merchant and consumer.
Okay, that's a good question. And so in a city like Escalon, you would need a distributor there, or someone that would be somewhere where someone buys but would also could exchange it back. And that's where Brandon can come in and help. Where a business would benefit from it is, a one right now is $9. In a month from now, it could be $10. So, if they're transacting the same day, they may not get as much of a boom from it. But if a business has the ability to hang on to it for just even a little while, they get more purchasing power with that gold back than they can with the dollar as the dollar continues to depreciate. So that's one way that a lot of these businesses use it.
Hey, Brandon? Is that his name?
Yes.
Brandon?
Philip.
Oh,
Yeah.
Philip.
Phil's speaking now.
Philip,
Yes.
so I think that I can possibly help answer Councilmember Engel's question. So Councilmember Engel, what was presented to the Economic Development Committee is that there is an app, the Goldback app. And so what would happen would be, let's say you go to Ace and you want to purchase something worth $20. As of right now, within this app, it's 2.25 gold back. So you would pay with gold back as a form of currency, 2.25 gold back, and then that's how the transaction would process. So there is an extra step, but the merchant would use this Goldback app that is updated every day at 10 a.m. based off of the current Goldback price.
Yeah, I think I just see this as it's another option for purchasing stuff, which long-term, because of the feds or the Treasury, I think it's Fed and Treasury, I forget exactly, but their new approach is financial repression. So they're planning on essentially printing their way to paying off these bills, which makes the dollar going to go down, down, down. So if that's the case, then this logically follows an uptrend. But more importantly, I think it creates a parallel economy, because if we have a digital economy that comes around and you're trapped in that digital economy, you're not able to get out of it, and they don't like your ideology, they can shut your money off. So I see this more as a big picture hedge against a lot of the digital stuff that you see coming, I guess, is the way I look at it.
Did I answer your question, Councilmember Engel?
No, I'm familiar with the app. I was still looking for, why a business would want to switch over. Like, I understand that it follows the fluctuation of gold and the valuation. I think I understand that part. And I am in 100% agreement to having a gold-backed dollar, right? Going back to the standard. I'm totally in favor of that. I think that's important. Do I think that we'll actually see it? No. Is this a potential alternative? Yes, but I think that without a solid explanation of the benefit to the consumer and to the merchant, it's going to be hard to transition that over. And I still think like the explanation was a little bit vague. And what would be the What's the benefit? Why would we want to do this? I think that really is what needs to be pushed out to the public in general so that they could get on board. Right now, it's the definition is a little bit muddy in my opinion. So maybe like if we explained it like to a 5-year-old, that
Could
my
I,
brain.
could I
might-
expound on it a bit?
My brain, yeah, please.
Okay, so again, on the Economic Development Committee, we, sat through this presentation, asked a whole bunch of questions, and, going back to, the idea of, let's use Ace Hardware as the example. We go in, we buy something with a gold back, they put it in the register, they do the conversion there, they can give us our change in dollars, if that's what we choose. Should they have the gold backs to be able to give us the change in the gold backs, that's great. Business owner takes it, and instead of making his deposit at the bank at the end of the day, he puts it in a safe. It sits in his safe for 2 or 3 days. What happens with the price of gold over just a few days? What happens with the value of the dollar over that same amount of time?
Yeah.
Extrapolate that over days, weeks, months, years. You've taken your profit earnings essentially and kept it in a safe in gold backs. That's going to continue to extrapolate where your gold backs are going to gain value, but your American standard dollar bill would have lost value every day because of the way that our government continues to print money. So that's kind of the benefit of it. The other question that I kind of heard you ask was how did they exchange it? The explanation for that was that they would install essentially ATMs that would exchange. Once they had enough of a footprint here, they would put ATMs in, have a vendor specifically, that was able to swap them out. So if you wanted to go, okay, I saved up, $10,000 in gold backs and I want to go, cash in on this while the price of it's high today. You go and see the vendor, you walk out with 10,000 American dollars.
Yeah, I think I totally get that part. And if we go back, there's a chart that showed volatility from 1970 on dollar versus gold. So I think up until the last year or so, where we've seen it go from 2,200, it's almost doubled, right, in the last year. So super volatile market. It makes sense. Again, I believe in the product. I own some myself, and I will continue to purchase that. I think it's a great way for investors to look at fractional gold and be able to stack for themselves without having to buy an ounce that's going to be potentially hard to liquidate.
So to answer your question a little more too, I mean, I understand it can be a little bit not clear, but, and one of the other council members did say, the big picture, that's really it where you're at in Escalon right now. It's just getting started. You don't have a lot of merchants that accept it. There's distributors that need to be developed, but that's where we're headed. So I have a colleague that's been raising her hand, Kim, if we can unmute her. She probably has a lot to say. She studies all the bills in all the different states. So she's pretty well versed on a lot of this stuff. So if we could unmute them, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make the additional point, why might a city and a small growing community want to do something like this? And it's really easy for us to compare the dollar to gold and that hedge against inflation. But sometimes we don't think about what happens in an economic system with plastic and other types of currency where portions of that wealth leaves your town and might be enriching, a big bank system, credit card system, maybe not even in America. And so one of the attractions to having small local communities with currency that they share is keeping that ecosystem among themselves and keeping the wealth of your community right inside.
So
And that's what we've seen across other small communities in the country. And so, like I said, you guys, in the big picture, you're just barely scratching the surface. But I've seen it work in many, many communities, and it does keep that money or the value there in your own community. So
the example that the Economic Development Committee was given is you go and you use a debit card or you pay 4% premium. Where's that 4% going? We have no idea. Whereas with the gold back, you pay with the gold back, then somebody else, you're not at 4% instead of going to some Phantom Wizard of Oz, that 4%, or you're not having to pay that Phantom 4% fee, and instead the cost of that Goldback continues to generate revenue within the city of Escalon.
And one other thing I would mention, because I definitely think this is a great idea personally, but I don't know how everyone else feels. But is it prevents those who are printing our money out, out of control from stealing your labor is what it's doing. And because they've committed to a long-term financial approach of financial repression, if you go look that up and understand what that is, their game plan essentially is to print their way out of this, which means this is not coming down, maybe short-term blips potentially, but I short of a, giant financial change, new financial system scenario, this is going to continue to get uglier and uglier as far as the cash value of money, which has gone from, I think it's like 3 cents of the purchasing power it was in 1914. It's like nothing. So I see this as a way of setting up a parallel economy in our community that allows our community to then weather the storm of that financial repression a lot better in theory. That was just my 2 cents on it.
And
Sorry, Kim.
we like to describe it as it's just options. It gives people in the community options. It gives merchants options, consumers options. And California is actually, I believe, is leading in having a policy that a state law that affirmatively allows for alternative local currencies. And in the history of the state, there have been many over time. And so that's unique for California. I know that there's a consideration for investing in gold, maybe having some prohibitions, but the state law is pretty friendly to recognizing alternative currencies. And that puts you a little bit ahead of the game.
So what I was going to say was, I similar to what the mayor and Councilmember Kay mentioned, I really like this idea. I think that it's a way to keep the value of Escalon's money within Escalon. My biggest question, and this is not for council, for staff, it's for the community as a whole, is do we think the community, local business community, not the bigger chains, would the local business community support something like this? That's the $1 million question that we don't know. So
I can tell you my business would.
Okay.
And that's all it takes is 1 or 2 to start. And there's a lot of farm to table type of businesses that do it. I can tell you, because what Kim talked about with this California law, 2 weekends ago, I was in San Diego on the University of UC San Diego's campus. They have a studio there that's actually a Goldback merchant. They do a lot of gaming, things like Dungeons and Dragons and other things, but they have people pay for pay to play their games with Goldbacks, and it's expanding all throughout that San Diego community in those tabletop game communities. But the university itself has its own policy about local currency, and they're adopting in many areas there the Goldback as a currency on that campus. So it's a little, we have another event there coming up June 20th, and we would love to come and present. I think you guys have a meeting July 24th, some kind of city. Is it a
Park feet.
like a fair or something, or?
And the thing about Goldback is, because we do believe in this mission of having this alternative currency and giving people those options as a hedge against inflation, is, we do come in and help the merchants, and we give incentives, we give information, we provide tools to help expand that marketplace. So it is a little bit chicken and egg, but we really help get those eggs hatched and get that community growing and synergizing. And it really does have a synergistic effect. Like Phil just mentioned, in this one, in this one area of California, we've seen this across the country when a couple merchants come together and these start moving around, then it just naturally grows. And so you wouldn't be alone as city leaders hoping and wondering if, I mean, we would assist in kind of spurring that and lighting a little bit of the fire. And then you'd see, and what we're seeing everywhere is there's no place that's reducing the activity with Goldbacks. Every place is just expanding in the marketplace. But we do help, and we can come in and even if it's walking around down the streets, door to door with businesses and explaining what this is. Because it really is no skin off of a merchant's back. It really is very, very easy to just sign up and get your business thrown on the app. And so people can find the business. So usually that's a no-brainer to businesses to go ahead and put their business up on the map. And it just grows from there.
And there's incentives for businesses to sign up. When we launch in a state, we have a program called the LER, or Limited Early Release Program. And so it's a 3-denomination Goldback that I'll show you one that's, this is an Arizona one. So it comes in a graded, it's been graded and made sure that it's pure. And then it's worth about $300. So if a business signs up, they'll get one of these as a thank you for signing up. It's $300. The person that signed them up or referred them will also get one. So there's incentives out there to try to get the ball rolling and get these businesses started. And we've seen great success with the LER program. So,
And if I may, I'd like to share an example of a successful merchant adoption in my state in Arizona. So we have they're both a merchant and a distributor. It's a place up in Chino Valley, just outside of Prescott. It's a little gun shop called Maisie's. And the way that they've set their business up is you walk into their store, they have, obviously they sell firearms and ammunition, survival equipment, and, vests and, other gear associated with that industry. And what citizens can do, or what people can do, they walk into that store, and first of all, they see the display of the Goldbacks, which immediately catches their attention. However, to directly answer the question, what's in it, for a merchant. So what Maisie's does is when a customer exchanges their dollars for Goldback, because they're a distributor, they purchase from us at a wholesale rate. So they make a percentage when a customer exchanges their dollars for Goldback. They then turn around and say, hey, if you wanted to buy this off the shelf, we'll give you a 5% discount. And then the customer says, okay, well, that's great. I'd like a 5% discount, but I don't have any Goldbacks on me. Well, we have a whole case of them right here. So they make money on the front end when the customer exchanges their dollars for the Goldback. The customer then gets a 5% discount on the equipment or the gear that they're looking to buy. And then those Goldbacks go right back into the case for Maisie's. And then the next customer comes in and same thing. Yes, I'd like 5%. And then those Goldbacks that went right back into their case get exchanged back out for dollars, and Maisie's makes another percentage on that. So it's been a very effective business model for them. And personally, before I worked for the company, I bought stacks of Goldbacks when the exchange rate was $3.50. I held on to them, much like someone else had mentioned, like an investment. I found a merchant that had something that I wanted to buy. So I used Goldbacks that I bought at $3.50. And when I made that trade, it was at $8.75. So I effectively got myself a huge discount on something, that I wanted just by holding on to it for a little while. So I hope that kind of helps clarify and provide a little extra layer of detail on, how merchants could make this really work and increase the profit within their business.
And do you guys have a meeting coming up or a town like fair or something coming up on July 24th? I think Trevin said there was something on that date.
Yes, Park Feet. Yes, we do. It's a festival.
Festival, okay. Because that's something that we could come and support and then, set up a booth or whatever and have people come and talk to us, business owners that might be curious about it. We can be there and help answer questions, maybe get the ball rolling a little bit.
Seems like a good idea.
Are there any other questions? I probably didn't answer all of them. It's a long conversation if we really want to have it, but it really does work. We've seen it across the country. Yeah, you're at the beginning stages, but it keeps the value in your citizens' pockets, but it also keeps it in your community and builds a little ecosystem for yourself there in Escalon.
Would you mind answering any questions that our community may have or not?
Yeah, they can send me, they can.
The ones that are in here.
Probably the easiest way is to have them ask you, and then you guys can send them on to me.
Oh, well, they're right here.
Are they there tonight?
Here? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're just gonna have to come up.
I didn't know if they'd stepped out or not.
No problem.
It's just little old me. Hello. Sherry, for those of you who are online and can't see me or whatever. Anyway, I have just a few comments and then a couple questions. One, I think Park Feet would be a marvelous idea because honestly, how many citizens have any idea what Jekyll Island is or Federal Reserve? Some of you are looking at me like, what is she talking about? I'm talking about our money used to be backed by gold and used to be backed by silver, and the vast majority of our country has no idea. So I think this is marvelous, but I also think there needs to be a lot of education within the community. So my two questions are, one, I heard what, the businesses get like a 300 note. What do I get? I'm not a business.
So if you refer to business, you would get a 300 note.
No. I'm just a person. Okay. So
Yeah.
just little old me. Of course, I do have a big, but anyway. And then my second one is like kind of a silly question, really silly question, because I looked at the notes and they're really cool. But so I think it's because of the way the process that the note is made, that if I stick these things in my wallet and carry them around, I'm a busy grandma, I have grandkids with me, we do things that gold's not going to wear off, right?
Nope, it's not.
That's
So
not true.
it is sealed in there, vacuum depositioned. If by chance it became delaminated, you can exchange that back and get a full they'll replace it.
Okay.
But that very rarely happens. There are back wallets and things that are made for them so that they sit in there a little prettier so that they don't get bent or anything. Like Brandon has one there. There's a smaller one too. And now there's actually littler small ones coming up because we have a quarter, which is about the size of a business card. But you can, a regular citizen like you can buy them, hold them, and use them as a way to fight inflation. So,
Okay, so two things then. One, I like the education idea, with Park Feet, because there's a lot of people that have no idea what this is, what even gold is, or why we would want to go to gold or silver or anything like that. And two, if you're going to give the businesses something, you got to really think about us as people in the community too.
Any other questions for the gentleman on the phone? Philip? No? Any online for Philip? I'm gonna assume no, but yeah.
My director, Nathan, asked if he might be able to speak for just a quick second, if we could unmute him for just a moment.
Yeah.
Thank you, City Council and Mayor, for letting us be here tonight. One thing I just wanted to mention, that the availability of the go backs and the opportunity to have something that is inflation proof is just growing exponentially. I travel all across the country, visiting with people at trade shows and at merchants, and it's growing, growing, and growing. And one of the biggest things that I see with the go backs is once people see them and are able to use them, it just makes them in awe that there's something that's made of gold that they can actually use. They've never seen it. They've always heard about maybe having the ability to use gold, but we have produced something that is usable, and it's very fractionable, and it's affordable by everyone. So, you know, the lady that was just up there, what's in it for her is she can start buying gold at $2.50 where, you know, where can you do that? And it gives everyone the opportunity to have gold, even at a small amount, but it gives them the ability to start using and stacking or whatever they want to do, because it's such a fractional, hyper fractional pace that we have the gold backs. So it's something that's there, it's usable for everyone, and it's can be purchased and used by everyone at all levels right now. And it's just growing exponentially across the United States.
Any other questions for the Goldback crew?
I don't have any questions. Hi, this is Counselor Walker, and I just want to thank you for your presentation and bringing it to us today. I'm looking at the website. Actually, it's searchable to find where you have merchants that you can use. Escalon actually has 4 merchants that are listed on the map right now. And that actually lends to me more confidence and makes me much more likely to want to invest and use this as a store of value, but also have a way to use it in real time right now. And it looks like regionally, we are leading the way and have a couple of businesses already using the gold back. So appreciate that bringing to us today, and see that this is seems to be growing in our community.
I'd like to echo the same sentiments, and unless the council had an issue with it, I'd love to see these guys come educate our community more. I think it would be a great tool to hedge against a currency situation we already can see in front of us. Anything else you guys wanted to say before we part ways?
I just want to thank you for your time, and I know I probably didn't answer all the questions. If you have more, you can run them through Trevin to me, or you can email me directly. It's philip@goldback.com with Philip with 1 L. I'll do my best to answer. We have a great team. Nathan, the sales director, and Brandon, your rep, and then Kim is our strategic partnership, working with all the legislators, keeping track of all the bills. So we would love to come out and visit you in July and be able to talk to people one-on-one. I love personal interactions a lot more than I love these kind of meetings. You know, I love to shake hands and get to know people and be able to look people straight in the face and just tell them how cool this product is, because it really is, like Nathan said, the best way for anybody to get gold in their hand at a fractional level, a starting point. So
I would like to compliment the city and Trevin on having a vision for this. This is the first time we've seen a governmental entity lean in and say, we want to do something for our community to preserve wealth. We want to help our citizens. And while we have had geographic clustering of marketplaces that naturally or somewhat naturally grow and develop, this is the first time we've really seen a city who gets it, who understands the underlying principles of why this might be beneficial to your city and your residents in the first place. And so we're also excited at Goldback to develop even a model of a city developing it, and with the assistance and support of the city council. So that's exciting for us. That's new for us. And so we are absolutely willing and excited to come in and help in any way we can.
So one of the things that I was just came to my mind something to consider is if they're coming to Park Feet to talk to the community while they're here, we may want to consider reaching out to our local business community and holding a workshop to coincide with their visit to see if we can get the interest in the businesses as well.
I would agree. I think that's a great idea.
Just a thought.
I like that idea. I've done many meetings across the country where town hall type meetings where the citizens have pulled together businesses, and we've done presentations and always been successful with those. So
let's plan on seeing you in July then, and hopefully we can put something together with Trevin and our city council, our city manager. Assuming the rest of the council's okay with it. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I
sir.
look forward to it.
You got a 5-0 on that, so.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
So we're on to presentation number 3, the First Street pedestrian safety improvements.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As we have the presentation up, this was an item that was requested by council consensus at the April 6th meeting. If you go to the next slide, we had our engineering team and development team look at some of the background scenario. First Street is a long, straight street. It connects 2 major corridors, McHenry and Brennan. And people do seem comfortable driving, maybe at a higher rate of speed on those long, straight streets. We have done some surveying, speed surveying back in 2024. While there is a high number of total trips that do go 10 miles over the speed limit, the percentage is very small. It's less than 1%. And so in the past, with that data and some of the other things that we have done, lowering the speed limit to 25, putting in additional stop signs in the last several years, we haven't necessarily taken further action. However, we feel that if you were to truly slow down traffic, if that was desired by the council, you need to do probably something physical on the street. And so we've looked at a couple of different options. If we can go to the next slide. There's basically 3 options. I think we're all familiar with bulb outs or curb extensions, as they're called. Various opinions throughout the community on their effectiveness and desirability, for sure. But they do help to visually narrow the street, which makes people more uncomfortable, which slows them down. In essence, in traffic engineering, they say people will drive as fast as they're comfortable driving. And that's how speed limits are set. It's basically what is 80% of the people drive, what speed do they drive? And that's how speed limits are set in an oversimplified manner. So narrowing it down actually helps to reduce speeds, and it improves safety. Now you're crossing, less total feet across the street than the wider street. So that's sort of a permanent bulb out or curb extension in nature. We can more cost effectively and temporarily do something like this with a few dollars, striping, some plastic kind of speed bumps and some pylons, kind of have the same effect. We like this as at least staff. You can kind of beta test things. You can see if it works, if it's effective, if people respond to it. If it doesn't work, you can take it out or iterate a little more quickly, easily, and cheaply. So that's the first option, the bulb out or the curb extension. The next option we have here, I guess we have more information. It also helps line of sight. So someone traveling, you can see on the left, they don't have as great a visibility if there's a car parked with someone waiting to cross. If they are out further into the road through the curb extension, that driver has greater visibility to anyone hoping to cross.
Quick question for you. Are you planning on this being at the beginning and the end of the street, or like we talking like on every corner, or?
So I think this presentation is to get council direction.
Okay.
If there's anything desired on that street.
Gotcha.
And so we are presenting the options that could be considered. And something like that, it could be at one intersection or every intersection.
Gotcha.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
I see you've proposed 3, which all cost the city money. I don't see a 4th on there, which would be enforcement. As somebody who travels that road frequently, a lot of this is due to the folks at the school there. It's a ridiculous mess there in the morning. People are rude, in a hurry to drop their kids off, whatever it is, cutting people off, kids running out in the middle of the street during traffic, not using crosswalks. Seems to me a 4th option that should be offered to us is enforcement, and that's potentially revenue generating.
It is a fair point. Due to staffing levels and other factors, we do not do as much traffic enforcement. We have over the last several years, we pulled some stats from 2021 to 2026. There have been 131 traffic citations on that road, 5 for speeding.
Do we have a general idea? I'm assuming that machine that shows the speed tells us the time that it happened. Do we have like clustering at all? Like a specific time of the day that's happening?
I don't have that information on us, but I assume it is available, time clustering, so we can share that with the council.
I can tell, to Councilmember Engel's point, I can say that in a similar area that we had by Dent last year, same problem. And one of our officers who's sitting in the audience tonight was on the motorcycle and got a lot of people's attention in a very quick amount of time. And so I think enforcement works, and I understand that it could create the potential of a staffing issue, but I think these are all great ideas. I am one of those individuals that drops my kid off at El Portal in the mornings, sometimes picks him up in the afternoon, and Councilmember Engel's right. I mean, the parents are very, very rude. They cut people off. The kids have no common sense of walking in and out of vehicles. And so I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I think we need to take a concerted effort of looking at enforcement first and see if we can start changing the narrative that way. And if people aren't listening, people aren't paying attention, I mean, we could work with the SRO and try to help educate the students at El Portal, because the kids at the elementary schools get it. Why can't the middle schoolers get it? So.
Makes sense.
Yep, point taken. The second presented physical item here is a raised crosswalk. This acts as a de facto speed bump, but also helps elevate people crossing, especially kids who are smaller in stature, puts them up a few inches so they are a little more visible, but again, acts as a speed bump. Not always a preferred option by public safety and others in times where it's not as busy, but certainly something that would be more permanent in nature. And then the third option is what's called a chicane. I don't know what chicane is, it's French. But basically it gets you to physically slow down because you have to navigate turns. And again, we do have a permanent option. You can see this is built up with landscaping and concrete and asphalt, signage. Then there is also a temporary option on the next slide, which is, again, just kind of paint and, these rubber speed bumps. And again, it just has the person kind of navigate little turns within the straightaway. Here you can see they preserve parking. In some areas, it could actually eliminate parking. We would have to look at how much right of way we have on the road. Again, this is to present physical options that we think would be more sustainable in the long term. We certainly will take council direction, and enforcement is requested to be increased. We can certainly do that. Again, I will candidly say we do have challenges with sort of continual enforcement over time based on staffing levels right now. So,
Mr. Mayor, may I ask another question?
Yeah.
So last year before, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the street, but we talked about some physical
signage.
Yes, right. And we talked about the warrants weren't there to really justify that, and legal ramifications if it were to have created an accident, that we impeded traffic without it showing the proper warrants. Do we have a study showing the proper warrants for physical obstructions on First Street?
Not required.
Not required?
Not required.
Due to being a school, or?
No, it's just for stop signs, you have to have traffic warrants for that. For traffic calming measures, which are physical changes to the road, you don't have to have, the MUTC doesn't require a traffic study.
Okay. So legally, if we put those out there and they create accidents, the city is safe?
Well, no, because the law's never that simple. What it is there's not a bright line that would show that we clearly crossed. The only theory of liability would be in tort. So someone would say your design was not good. It created a hidden trap for pedestrians or users of the road. So there could still always be a dangerous condition of liability theory.
Okay.
It just won't be as black and white as if we impose it without warrant.
So installing a physical barrier, would that increase or decrease our risk?
It just depends. Because it depends on
That's a very lawyer answer.
No, you know why? Because I'm not an engineer. Because engineers are going to argue whether it will or won't, based on a totality of circumstances, based on the grade in the road, what other signage is around. I mean, there's a million factors that go into it.
So without it, I mean, then it's safe to argue that without there being anything there wouldn't be anything to engineer, thus not creating an additional risk.
Or if you don't improve it, someone could argue it was negligent to not improve it. Welcome to tort law.
Well, so let me,
So have these been generally approved as acceptable approaches? Okay, then this is a theoretical argument, no? Or yes?
Both scenarios, doing nothing and doing something, as long as the doing something follows common engineering practice, state law, those types of things, would be about a neutral
Gotcha.
so
total liability.
I had a resident bring this to my attention. I wish Gabriella was here because she brought it to our attention about 2 years ago. She sees it going down First Street all the time. So this has been an ongoing problem since we've been on council. So Gabriella's brought it to our attention. Kathy Ensley, who is at California, and Irwin asked if we could do some lighted stop signs. We've had Travis Cardoza, who's now on the school district, on the school board, put together a little petition asking for something. So I think we need to do something. But that something, in my opinion, is, to Councilmember Engel's point, we have to start with enforcement and try to educate them. If they're still not getting it and still not following it, then we maybe want to take a heavier hand. That's just my opinion. But I also travel this road maybe once a day, twice a day, definitely not the frequency that Councilmember Engel and Councilmember Kay do.
So is that my cue to weigh in here?
Yes.
I have lived on or near First Street since 1999. And when I say near, within a block of First Street. I've traveled up and down it multiple times a day. I'm kind of the Mr. Mom in my house. I've delivered kids to Dent. Picked him up after school and dropped him back off at home. Picked him up from El Portel and dropped him back off at home. And I'm currently, my last two are at the high school, and I'm currently picking them up and, and dropping them back off at home. I traveled this road probably 12 times a day on average. In that amount of time that I've lived there, this road went from being a 30-mile-per-hour zone end to end, aside from the specific school zone, with not a stop sign on it. The first stop sign was added, I think, in 2000 or 2001, if I remember correctly, but we're getting a little back there, so I may be mistaken about my facts. Now we have 2 or 3 stop signs and a roundabout. The light, actually, when I moved into my house on First Street, was a blinking red stoplight. It was not even a functional light when I moved in there. I've lived there that long. In all that amount of time, I can tell you there are 2 things that I noticed the most, and I don't think that any of these traffic calming measures are going to even remotely address. All this is going to do is cause more of the problems that you are seeing when you are dropping off and picking up Declan, because you're going to have people that are even more impatient with not being able to park. You're going to eat up parking spaces that they would be able to use. Here's what I think is extremely wrong with First Street. When all of the school buses file out of El Portel, they all get in a line down there at First Street, or First and McHenry. Why is our right-hand lane a straight and a right turn lane instead of the left-hand lane being a left and a straight lane? Can you answer that question for me?
I cannot.
I can't think of another.
You're saying pointing west?
In the light also required
It is an absolute ludicrous design. Here's what happens. You get a kid over there, hits the button to be able to cross McHenry, and now everybody that is trying to turn right and go straight through that intersection is waiting on all of these kids to cross before a car or a bus can get through as the light turns yellow right before it turns red. So you create so much traffic there that the impatience starts with, I want to get to that light before the buses. I want to get to that light before the kids. I want to blow down this street. That's the only danger that I actually see there. Aside from that,
Do you see in your opinion, a proper solution? I mean,
the right-hand turn lane should be a specific right-hand turn. And I'm sure Caltrans engineers had a genius idea when they came up with that. But, you know, as a resident who has suffered through it for years, it's ridiculous.
Is there a way that we can re-engineer that?
We'll look into it. I mean, that, you know, to me, it's as simple as you make the left lane a left turn in a straight lane. And I bet you probably alleviate 30 to 40% of the traffic that builds up there almost immediately. All of a sudden, you don't have this rush to get down to there to the light before the kid hits the button on it and stops you from being able to pass to the intersection. I stupidly the other day went down there right after school was let out. I'm sorry. I took 5 light rotations for me to be able to get up to that light and turn right onto McHenry.
This is apparently a hot topic for you.
So I definitely go up, I turn left, and then I turn right, do the block.
I do everything in my power to avoid it, but every once in a while, like an idiot, you just autopilot the direction that you go at 5 o'clock, not realizing that it's 3 o'clock, and now you want to shoot yourself in the face. That being said, these traffic calming measures, let's say that we put in another stop sign. Let's say we put in a raised sidewalk. What are those people that are impatient and in a hurry going to do the second that they clear that stop sign?
They're going to gun it and try to jump over.
And they're probably going to go a heck of a lot faster than they would if the road was just open and clear. And that's something that I see more frequently than anything going down there, is that people leaving the stop signs, leaving the roundabouts, they come out of those accelerating at a higher rate of speed than they would have had you just let them pass through it at 25 to 30 miles an hour. So that's my take on it as somebody with, like I said, 27 years of experience of driving on this road over and over again every day. And the one thing that I truly do think that we should be addressing is that stoplight and the way that intersection works. It's wrong, 100% wrong.
Well, maybe the best starting point is to see if we can't increase some of the oversight with the police, and then look into how realistic it is to change that potential location, and then go from there. Because maybe picking this tonight is a moot point. What I mean?
I can tell you from my personal experience, when I saw Officer Geck sitting on the bike with the lights on at Mitchell and Yosemite, bam, I immediately slowed down. I was going the speed limit, but it's subconscious. You think, oh, crap, there's a police officer. I better slow down. So he didn't, I mean, you don't even have to have anybody pulled over, just a cop sitting on his bike with the lights on. Subconsciously, people think I better slow down.
Well, and I can tell you, as well, having the SRO sitting at El Portel, you see cars are traveling much slower just because it's a police officer sitting in the parking lot. He's not even in the car. He's in the building. He's doing whatever he's doing. But just the car sitting in the parking lot causes everyone to take a hesitation and go, oh, I need to stop all the way at the stop sign, make sure the crosswalk is clear, and not speed past the cop car because maybe he is sitting.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if there is a clustering of time frame outside of the schools and seeing if that's even realistic for the police to cover. Assuming it is, realistic, then maybe the first thing is oversight,
Well, what I was thinking is,
just my thought.
it would be interesting if we could, I'm certainly not volunteering Officer Geck, but it'd be interesting to see if there was a correlation with having him sitting at El Portal and then having the speed trailer a little bit further on First Street. So to see if people were actually slowing down.
Oh, they will. Yeah.
And then they'll speed up, but then they see the speed trailer, and then are they going to slow down because now they're seeing the speed trailer? Because that in and of itself may give us the data that we're looking for as well. I don't know.
Well, I just reached my activity goal, so apparently I got a little passionate about that one.
Well, let's finish up the talk here. Then we got something to say. So,
Yeah, I do.
I apologize. You got.
Okay, so I have a few comments and it's a little different than, I'm not 100% agreed, but I'm agreed on the goals, right? So of these traffic measures, first of all, I've had discussions in the community, including some of our staff. People are blowing through the stop sign at Irwin. That is what's happening. They're rolling through that stop sign. And that's part of the speed thing. We're not getting the speed necessarily, or maybe they're not going over the speed, but they're not going 10 miles an hour right after the stoplight. They're going 25 or they're going over the speed. So I am not opposed for raised crosswalks. And I would say speed bumps, but if we're in a school zone, raising that, I don't, especially if we are able to get grants or money for it. Raised crosswalks at Irwin and possibly Oklahoma would probably help with that, regardless of whether it is at school time or not at school time, because it serves as a speed hump, but then it serves as safety for the kids that are crossing as well. Okay. Not that there's a whole lot. They usually are on the El Portal side going back and forth, but to me, it kind of does double duty. And that's, in my opinion, my first one. I have got 3, so. So that's how I feel about going forward, kind of looking into it. There may or may not be a consensus, but that's my opinion and my point of view. So we've also I get to experience the in and out of Dent, El Portal, and the high school after school time and before school time. And the school district does at Dent have signs that say, please pull all the way forward, and they have pickup and drop off zones. We can try and have more of a conversation with the school district. And one of the problems is that traffic is backing up out of the parking lot and no one can get in. So it's just a cluster of vehicles outside of that. And maybe if we can have a discussion with the district and be able to have police pull all the way forward past the gym there, and then they'd have that L to wait and you'd be able to get that traffic in and out a little bit more. But that wouldn't be just us, but it could be a collaboration with the school district. And I think that might alleviate some of that as well. And so the third one that I have written down here is probably an outreach to citizens. I would say kids, but I've seen adults as well. And this has to do with their wheeled vehicles. So bicycles, whether they're motor bicycles or regular bicycles, but they probably need to be informed that bikes are supposed to be riding on the right-hand side of the road. They're supposed to be in the bike lane, and they're supposed to be following the rules of the road, like stopping at stop signs. And this is something that I see whether it's in front of the school or not in front of the school. So I think that outreach, whether it's through the school district or to the kids, but it also needs to be to the adults so the adults can tell the kids this is what we're doing and set the example. So that's my opinion in this conversation, is I am not opposed to raised
I think
crosswalks. I
two
know-
of those things
yeah.
we definitely address with the school through the district meetings.
Yeah,
The idea, at least first, see where that goes.
for sure.
And then the raised, I don't see any problem with the raised
Crosswalks.
crosswalk. I
So,
don't think that's a big deal. I do see a problem maybe with all these temporary.
me
you
too.
know,
Not a fan of that. That might be dangerous.
Yeah,
I'm not speaking for the other council, but I would be happy if I never saw a picture of a chicane ever again.
so it's,
Don't watch much racing, huh?
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask one more question too.
yeah, go for it.
Not down First Street.
Do we know, on average, what type of revenue the city brings in for a moving violation? Is there a average or dollar amount?
Very low. So for moving violations, most of those fees go to the county and the state. We see maybe a couple dollars per ticket.
That's super unfortunate.
Yeah, parking citations and admin citations, we see a much larger percentage, but for moving violations, it mainly goes to the court and the state.
I don't think that it's just an issue on First Street, right? It's something we've talked about several times over the last several years, that speeding in town is an issue. And whether it's the right way to think about it or not, I was hoping for there to be potential for revenue to potentially even staff you guys with another full-time officer, right, just for traffic enforcement. But if the revenue doesn't make sense, we have all these folks coming through town that speed down McHenry on a daily basis. I mean, I get passed on 60 miles an hour by somebody coming down McHenry every time I use it, and then they blow through, the yellow light right here just to get stopped at the train or whatever else it is. But it's not an occasional thing. I think all of us can vouch for seeing that down McHenry. And I think the folks in town would get the picture real quick, and we wouldn't necessarily be taxing our own citizens, but we would be essentially taxing the citizens who wanted to use McHenry as a speedway. But if there's not an opportunity to gain any substantial revenue.
So one thing that this particular resident asked me to bring up, I was looking for the exact verbiage. But what's happening is when people are traveling after, at the end of the day, end of the workday, and they're trying to avoid, you guys probably see this. People are trying to avoid the light at McHenry and 120. What they're doing, they're turning right on Brennan, turning left onto First Street, and now First Street becomes a racetrack. So I think we look at it during school hours, but then we also have to look at it after work hours as well, because they're essentially using First Street as a detour to avoid McHenry. And given discussions that we're going to have in the coming months about other potential things happening at Brennan and 120, I think that we should be proactive, and we do need to look at something. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the chicanes. I think that encourages people on motorcycles that live in the neighborhood to try to.
Why are you looking at me? It's all for Gek.
to practice their racing, but I think we need to seriously consider something.
Well, I'm looking at this thing, it says 267 slides, so let's
Right.
get
I gotta move on.
I agree.
Thank you.
see where we're at here.
We haven't even got to consent.
We're at consent. I think we got consensus through that item. Thank you, council.
Okay, all righty then. Was there any input from the citizens before we moved on that one?
I missed the last three. I have to make up for lost time. So the French one. Parlez-vous français? No. I live on Sacramento right in front of the high school. So I have two comments about this. One, if we can make money off of parking, then come down Sacramento when school is, because they park in front of my driveway. And it's the parents, it's not the kids. Okay? They double park on, what is the high school? Jackson? Yosemite, sorry. Yosemite. Oh yeah, Jackson's the other one. They fly down there too. Anyway, so they double park, they go around the corners. My street is so narrow, 1.5 cars can go through at the same time, especially if they're parked. And seriously, they park in front of the my driveways. The second point is, I would like to see more enforcement. I agree. Chief, you know I love you, and I love you guys, all you police officers. I do. I absolutely do. It's not a criticism. In times past, when I have called because my driveway has been blocked or someone has blocked the road, I have seen more leniency to those high school kids and me miss appointments and doctor's appointment for 2 hours. Well, can't you do something different? No, can't you? You know what? I guarantee you, you start writing tickets to some of these kids or these parents, it's going to stop. It's going to stop. Because the word's going to get out and they're going to go, don't park in front of a driveway, you'll get a ticket. Don't double park, you're going to get a ticket. No leniency, no talking to them. We've done that for years. I've lived there for years. It doesn't work. But the temporary one with the French, they already double park. They don't obey the laws right now. So your temporary measures, good work, but they're not going to work. They're already breaking the law. So I think at this point, if we did some really hard, enforcement, especially with the new year coming up in August, right from the get-go, you parked in front of the driveway, you're over, even if you're over 1 foot, I don't care. I'm older. I don't want to maneuver around their car. If we started doing that, I think that would immediately get throughout for the rest of the year and it's going to curtail. So when the kids were dropping litter in front of our street and all over the people's lawns, our street was littered like crazy. They were just taking their lunch and just throwing it on the yards, throwing it on the sidewalk. And the neighbors were complaining. I went outside. First day of school. Hi, how are you? Hey, have a great day. Oh, hey, you just dropped something. I haven't had a problem since. I do it every year. I do it for the first week of school. I'm there when they go into school. I'm where then they come out. And they've all learned, okay, don't throw trash on the street. That lady's out there and she'll come out of the house. So, and I don't have a problem anymore. And our street's clean and the kids aren't throwing trash there anymore. So I think enforcement and immediate and right away, no leniency, it's going to get the word out and that'll be the end of it. And then we make money because it's parking, right?
All righty. Anyone else have a thought on this? Anyone online? All righty, then I will come back to consent calendar. Any of these 4 through 10 want to be pulled by anyone up at the dais?
I'd like to pull 7.
7?
I'll pull 10.
10.
And I would like to abstain from item number 4.
Abstain from 4. Okay. And the citizens want to pull anything? No? Online? No? All right. We'll vote on 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 with abstain from 4.
Mr. Meyer, I will move to approve the consent calendar as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. And now we'll go to 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Engel, what do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in as I saw it on there, just as my own personal experience. I very recently leased a Chevy Blazer EV. I had it for 1 year before I decided to return it and take a severe loss on my lease due to several factors. I bought it here locally. When I did bring it in for any type of service, what I did find was there were no technicians to be able to work on it, which led to an increased time at the shop. They did give me loaners. I don't know how that would necessarily work for the PD, but it happened several times. And they were very upfront with the reason why it was taking so long, is they didn't have anybody to work on them. The other reason was for charging. They did have an adapter which put it onto the Tesla infrastructure, which made charging much faster. But what I found, especially during the summertime, in a lot of stop and go traffic, is my battery would deplete very quickly. And the warmer it got, the longer it took to charge. And so while I could get at a Tesla charger, I could get 100 miles worth of charge in about 10 or 15 minutes. It didn't really relate to a 100-mile charge in the summer or in the really cold winter. So while I think it's a great opportunity for us to get that, I figured if fair to share my experience with my lease of a Chevy Blazer in 1 year, that I was so unhappy with it that I returned it for a pretty significant financial loss, just to not have to deal with it anymore.
You mind if I ask what dealership you purchased it at, and you don't have technician?
Is that okay for me to? American Chevrolet. It was here locally. Yeah, just down the street.
Right.
Yeah, I've bought several vehicles from them and haven't had any other issues. Especially when it came to warranty issues, they've always been able to take care of me. But when it came to issues related to the EV, it was very delayed.
That would be a significant concern.
Yeah, it did leave me stranded. At least it puts a little turtle on your screen, and you're limited to how fast you can go, and it tells you to take it to a shop immediately. And that was the longest delay. They had it, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, over a week.
Okay.
Chief, is this something you'd want to take off the books here and reevaluate, or do you feel like from Engel's input that you feel like you still want to keep going forward with it?
So the charging, this is something I've been kind of looking at for several years. I don't like the Explorers. They're not good vehicles. They're very slow. They get poor gas mileage. They're just not good vehicles. I've been looking at Tahoes, and then I was looking at electric vehicles in the past. Electric vehicles have not been a viable option. In 2023, Chevy Blazer announced that they were making a purpose-built police vehicle based around the Blazer. They were bringing the Blazer back and making a purpose-built police vehicle. It's something I kind of kept my eye on, but I did not want to be one of the first people to get one. Agencies have gotten them. Oakdale has 2 of them. And that was one of my biggest concerns, was charging and how long they hold up during a patrol shift. Their feedback was, so they estimate.
I would think they would have a larger capacity than a civilian vehicle.
They do. They have a larger capacity, and they have auxiliary batteries to power all of the electronics. So they estimate, they have an estimated listed range of 297 miles on a full charge with 266 with standard police equipment. My feedback from Oakdale was they see around 200 miles on a full charge. Here in Escalon, we average about 50 miles per shift for our officers, and that's just taking the full year and then divided by the amount of patrol vehicles we have. Realistically, we put on maybe 30 unless we have a trip to the jail. Our jail is 29 miles away, so it's 60 miles round trip. So outside of multiple transports to the jail, it wouldn't. I don't see range in charge being an issue.
Well, in regards to that, I did have the RS. It had a 302 mile range, but the recommendation is to not let it get below 20% or not let it, and then charge it by the time it gets to 80%. So it really narrows that down to a 60% usage, which is where I kind of found the problem. I was going 180 miles in between full charges. So it sounds like, I just wanted to throw it out there. I'm sure you're doing your due diligence. I just had firsthand experience. Mine was a 2025. I'm sure you're probably looking at 27s at this point.
26.
26. So maybe those items have been worked out. And it sounds like there's other agencies for you to compare to. I just saw it on there and thought, hey, it wasn't for me, and I have an opportunity to speak on it. So,
well, I appreciate it. And the technician issue is something that I had not thought about, and I will definitely look into that.
And this is a grant, right? So we're talking about a grant.
Yeah. So the grant would fund up to $20,000 per vehicle.
Yeah.
And so if we were getting 2 vehicles, it would be basically $40,000 that we would be getting towards the purchase, and that we would not be. At this point in time, we're still going to keep our gas vehicles. We're not getting rid of any gas. Well, we're replacing 2 gas vehicles, but this is something that it's going to be a.
Can you do hybrid?
Check on viability.
With this grant, can you do hybrid?
In the past few years, they did allow the hybrids, and I was looking at the hybrids. However, last I checked, they're no longer doing it for the hybrids when I called last year. about it, they were no longer offering it for the hybrids.
So city manager, I believe this particular consent item is just to move forward with the grant application, correct? So this will allow chief time to address some of the items that Councilmember Engel brought up before council releases the purchase, correct?
Correct.
I have a question for Chief. So how many vehicles do we have right now that are in rotation and used regularly that are not motorcycles? What's the replaceability? Like if one does get stuck in the
So we
shop?
have eight Ford Explorer, basically 8 Ford Explorers we would be replacing 2, so we'd still have 6 gas powered.
6 gas powered, and they're all being used regularly at
Yes.
this time?
The 2 that are being replaced, one of them's got a dead radio, so it can't be used, and the other one is just beat to hell.
It's time to replace.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. Any other thoughts before we bring this back for, I guess we could vote on all the rest of them at the same time.
So this is for just the grant
Sorry.
application. We are not currently we will come back to purchase said vehicles, is that correct?
Correct.
Or does this do the entire?
We will always
Package.
follow council direction. This is to authorize staff to submit the application. I think the inference is if we got the grant that we would move forward with it. But if the motion or the direction is to pause after we get it to see if we want to proceed based on research done, based on the questions, we can certainly do that.
I think, I can't speak for the 4 of you, but I mean, I'm okay with moving forward. And if say we did get the grant and chief does the research based off of what Councilmember Engel said, and you can always refuse the grant and we can figure an alternative.
Sounds logical.
Okay.
You gotta do a motion, I think, right?
I'll move
Just on
to,
7, or you wanted to do 7 and then 10?
Let's-
Want to vote first?
Separate topic. So let's just, I mean, we could even probably get a handshake direction if that's the direction that everyone wants to proceed. If there's split direction, maybe we can do a quick vote.
Let's just vote real quick.
Vote.
Okay.
I'll move to approve consent calendar item number 7.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right, number 10.
With the caveat to come back after we've,
No,
no, okay,
that's chief's job.
okay.
For Chief to come back and say it's okay to purchase,
Yeah.
yeah. Just number 10, it is the item on SJ Cog. It came last time, but Counselor Engel and Stroman were absent, and I did see that you didn't have a chance to vote on it at SJ Cog. So I was just making sure, wanted to check in with our SJ Cog representatives, make sure that they see if they have any commentary on it before we go forward with the vote. So my question is for Engel, if you have any commentary on the San Joaquin Council of Governments Annual Financial Plan.
I do not.
Okay.
You feel good with it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with you.
Just overall comment, I think the council knows that I've recently returned from the SJ Cog one-place trip as a representative from the city of Escalon, and SJ Cog is doing really amazing things for our local government. Local governments, plural.
Okay,
So I have no issues with this.
so we humor a motion then?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to ratify the SJ Cog Annual Financial Plan for fiscal year 2026-27.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay. Staff communications?
I'll start us off. For rec, just wanted to clarify, the report said registration closes for youth soccer May 17th. We extended it May 20th, and we're working with families on getting in there before the deadline. We still have spots open. Some divisions are full. We've waitlisted them, but we're working on trying to make sure everyone can get in. For adult softball, this is the first time we had it digital, so that worked out really well on Team Sideline. Speaking of being digital, we also successfully booked the community center online on Team Sideline. So that's because of the hard work and from both rec staff and front counter staff coordination. So we're moving forward toward our goal of getting every space filled every hour, and we'll continue to report on that. Planning Commission, the April meeting was canceled due to no agenda items. And for Economic Development Committee, we have the 4 business grants that were reviewed and approved and forwarded for tonight's meeting. Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'll go next. If we can look at page 95, it is our monthly treasurer report. That shows our fund 600 and 605. 600 is our water operating, and 605 is water capital. That is actually our surface water fund with 5.3 million in it. That fund does earn interest. It is sitting waiting for the surface water project. So while I cannot speak to dollars from 1990, I can tell you where they are today. There's those. And we can also see by the water operating, that's where when the bill is collected, that portion, the $1.98 that we're charging right now for the water gallons over 1,000, that particular $1.98 is from the 23-24 rate study. So back in 23-24, when we know everything costs less, we were given a rate study saying that it costs us $1.98 to produce that 1,000 gallons of water, and that the costs were included in that. We can all understand how costs have gone up recently. Those 23-24 prices no longer relate to current actual costs. So we know that we are right now subsidizing about $14 a month, or I'm sorry, $14 every 2 months, so every billing cycle, by simply not charging the current day's rate. So there's already that built in. I don't want to call it a rebate or a subsidy, but it's just we're simply not charging what the rate study suggests that we should. And we'd have to go back to a vote in order to do that. So we have something of a complicated process to increase that $1.98, but it's something that we could do in order to meet those costs if council chose to do so. But we have this particular report, our monthly treasurer's report each month, that explains where every dollar of the 23 some odd million that we will have at a point in time. So we cut off at the end of the month, point in time. At the end of April, we had 23.2 million. The next day we started posting and that number changes. So we do use the PIT reports or the point in times in order to say, we measured on this day and this is where we're at. So our water operating being surface water funds, it's just going to grow unless of course there's some other usage for that money. And we have all these large projects that we're trying to have all these small savings amounts that we are leaving this money sitting in these funds waiting in order to be able to fund those larger projects. So that's why that's sitting there kind of doing nothing. It's just earning and waiting for us to be able to pay for that project. So do we have any other questions about that for the moment? This would let us see where all these different funds
For
are.
a moment.
Can you remind us what year rate we're paying? Is it 2023?
Currently, we are charging $1.98 for the 1,000 gallons that's over the base rate. And that is from the rate study for 23-24.
Okay.
So, and that was the last year that we could increase without going to a vote. So there was this annual increase that was
Right.
expected in order to meet costs. We've stopped at that point because we have to take that next step. So
Thank you.
there's that item there that we need to address. And if we go forward through here, we kind of have our basic monthly reports. We have a page 98 is an actual water funds recap. And this will show you water operating, sewer, the sewer municipal, and the sewer industrial, and our storm drain. And on that billing, which is a 2-month billing, you're going to have some base fees for all these different things, including garbage, which isn't shown here. That particular garbage rate is given to us from Jilton. It's not represented here, but we're a pass-through. We're just collecting it for them. And out of that, say 150 a month, a good deal of it is the garbage. So people would have to look at their bills and see, are they taking advantage of those Jilton services? If they are, it's on their bill and they'll see that it's actually more than water. So this is a nice report. If anybody had any real questions just about how much does the water fund owe for the solar revolving fund, for the water meters, and you can go down into sewer and see where the bonds there are split between sewer, municipal and industrial. And it gives you down at the bottom of that line, you can see, okay, what does this enterprise owe? What are the debt service funds paying for? What's the operating? Where's that line that's just holding the surface water? So all these funds are accounted for. They probably just are not all that easy to decipher if you're looking for specific, where did the money go historically from 20 years ago to today? But right now, that surface water is the 5.391,155. It's just sitting there waiting to be used for that project. So this is a nice one to answer those types of questions. We have our summaries, which I think we're all we see them every month. Those are fine. We have our special revenue funds. It's our next page. And this will show us where we have our COPS grants, money that we talked about buying these electric vehicles with. We also have some of our transportation funds, things that we're used to seeing for our CIP budget for the roads and putting in the speed bumps and putting in whatever other slowing measures we want to do. These are dollars that we would use for that. We have a listing down at the bottom of the different CIP items that we're actually spending on right now. It won't give you a full list, but it does show what the dollars are being spent on for those two funds, 290 and 322. And that if we look up at our transportation funds, we can see 290 is Measure K and 322 is our gas fund. And those are the things where we're spending these big dollars for these street improvements. Our next page, we have Measure P. And this one gets to be, oh, I guess I skipped one. Did I? I did. So this one here is a fun one too. It's our special funding. So we have our surplus budget revenues that we had from last year's budget. We can show where we purchased all the different maintenance and equipment items. And right now we've got about 83,000 left over. And that's from last year's budget. The budget we're living in now is going to end soon. We'll have a small surplus as we expect to have more revenues than what we originally thought a year back. And this is a good thing. We want to have less expenses and more revenues than what we expect. That's a good spot to be in.
Until we get the AC.
And even that, and because we have these funds available for maintenance items, we're able to absorb those types of expenses that are expected, but not always, come at a great time for us. We also have our community reinvestment, our pitch grant funds, and we can see where we have Baker Print and the Barn, Oak and Ember, all the things that we discussed a few meetings ago. We'll have some more of those, I believe, in the coming months. And up at the top, it lets us see, okay, yeah, we've got those Reagan Estate donation funds. We've got things that we can use for very specific use. They're in Fund 100, but they're being reserved for a specific use. So there are special use funds. Measure P, everyone loves Measure P right now because it's new. We anticipated 980. We're actually going to be getting quite a bit more. But the the interesting thing is we're receiving less base sales tax. So the Measure P ability to kind of come behind that lost tax revenue and pay for things that we need, base items that we need, has been a great help this year. And we expect these monies to continue to go up. We'll have a better idea of how much to expect each year with this second and third year coming in. We also have some changes with our government and things that are going on at a federal level to where with sales tax and all these different things will level out. So it'll be interesting to see what we're going to be getting in the next couple of years. And then we will have less of a budget surplus because we'll be able to estimate closer to actual. And right now, with only 8 or 9 months under our belt, we don't really have a great data set in order to estimate from. It is going to be more though. So down below this, we can see what we're paying. We've got about $335,000 for salaries. Our UAAL pay down plan went very well. That $350,000 actually reduced our UAAL balance by over $700,000. So we were looking at that $1 being spent, saving us about $1.72, $1.73. So that has been a really good use of city funds. While it sounds like it's something to do with retirement, and it really is to do with retirement, we can think of this as a city debt, just like any other loan that we have. We don't have a choice. We have to pay it. So we do have a choice as to how much interest we have to pay, though.
Well,
So
my
this is
understanding is if we didn't do this, we'd be looking at going upside down pretty quick.
The required minimum payment, much like a variable house loan, changes.
Yeah.
And so as the state either does not invest properly or doesn't get the gains that they expect, that loss gets put on the back end of what we would owe. And they say, oh, no, you didn't pay enough. You need to pay more. And so now your minimum payment goes up. And this is a trend that we can see and we can map by paying down the principal balance. And even with just the 350,000 that we're paying down, we are going to be able to pay this off much faster. Right now, with the current numbers that they're providing us, we're looking at paying it off in around 8 years, whereas before we were looking at 10. We took off a year. We should have been at 9. So as long as their actuarials that they provide us with continue in the trend that we're expecting, we're going to pay this off sooner than we expected to. Now,
But just
the
so,
feds could really mess up all my plans, so.
just so we can like put it out there, what does that translate into, simple English?
Savings about 3 million.
So.
And that's over a 10-year period.
Yeah. So when we look at the bigger picture of some of the stuff that was mentioned earlier with Measure P stuff, we're spending small amounts of Measure P to essentially free up $3 million, which is going to, in the long run, be much more significant for the taxpayers that live here.
Yes, and we're looking at this particular benefit occurring in 8 years, 7 years. It's down the road, so it's not right now. So I think that is really where it's not quite as sexy as we would like to show, hey, we're making $3 million, but we are going to be saving that money over a period of time where I would not be able to earn that with our conventional methods that we're using now. Maybe the gold backs, huh? Maybe that would earn us $3 million. And we have the other items that we're using, the econ development and our equipment and maintenance. Having that money available for maintenance items that need to be replaced is great because we can take advantage of some better pricing sometimes rather than being, in the moment and being, having to pay full price for something like we can, Justin's Vector that he was able to buy for a reduced price. We were able to swing that. It'll be easier for us now with these maintenance funds. So we are earning more. We've got that 752. If we just took a look at what we've collected versus what we've spent, you can see where the 752 is. I could also have it incorporated in this, the losses that we had from base sales tax and what we've used. But to try to measure the entire bucket of water one drop at a time, we can apply these dollar amounts to this and say, this is what we spent measure P on. Whereas we can see it goes into the bank and we're using it for all of our basic expenses that we need. Let's go down another page and see what we've got here. We can see the details from what is spent, which is kind of a summary. This one here, we can see where we've collected, what months we're collecting. We can see that so far we've collected up through February's earnings. And you see a big dollar amount and then two small dollar amounts. So they're truing up with us every couple months. And as we get closer to having a expected dollar amount each month, that big payment will reduce. But still, that's the way that sales tax works. Here's our expenses. In summary, again, we can see that pretty much we're just spending this on Frank, it looks like, auditor, attorney, no, on payroll and the UAAL, there's our 350 there. So we can show that we've spent that 545, 930, and we are looking for suggestions for other items to spend those dollars on.
$679, Frank, you're killing us.
I know. Our next is our LLMDs, and we have a few pages here. This is a summary, and it'll show us, Sunrise, Bellaterra, Countrywood, Estates, LLMD, and BAD. It'll give us a good summary of what's been spent. We do tend to see that these have 2 collections a year, of course, because it's property tax, and a lot of the expenses will come in on the lawn maintenance, park maintenance, trees and lights, things like that. We had a big expense, I think, for Bellaterra this year for their trees. So you see that big park maintenance of 35,000 looks a little unusual because they did have a rather large tree expense there. They're pretty normal stuff. The pages that follow are going to show in detail for each LLMD what we've received and all of their expenses in detail and summary, what checks we paid for, everything. So it gives us a little more detail if anybody wanted to see what their LLMD is spending. Street sweeping and the lawn maintenance, real common things that we expect to see. We do have the general fund expenses, and kind of the interesting thing we have is in pink off to the edge there, we have the proposed budget that will be presented at our next meeting, our June 1st meeting. So I think that is going to be our next one. And that'll show us what our actual expenses are year to date, what our target is. We're right where we should be for this point in time. Again, we've got a pit. We've taken a measurement as of, I think this was 5/8. And what else? There's quite a few pages of that because our expense lines are going to go through all of our general fund. If there's something anybody wanted to see, like with police or something, you could take a peek at that. And down towards the very bottom with our expected budget, we can see that we have about 225,000 expected to go into maintenance. And 102,406 is in the transfers out. This is monies that could go for just about anything, as we already have our loan payments and things that we have in our debt payments are already spoken for. So interesting things if you have your favorite thing you want to look at. Any questions?
For me, anyone else?
No, it's much appreciated, especially the LMD presentation today, as that's going to come up here in the next month or so. But it's nice to see exactly where everything is coming and going. So appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No problem.
Chief?
So I've been trying to figure out ways to better connect with the community in the police department. Last month I did a presentation for the senior luncheon. I plan to make that a regular occurrence where every month I go out to the senior luncheon. The next one is this Wednesday. Just kind of talk to people. Seemed they had some questions for me, but we kind of ran out of time. So I hope to answer more questions. We also have a coffee with the cop scheduled for Wednesday, May 27th. So anybody who has any questions for the police department, and
Do you do that with the school too? Like getting a better relationship with the kids?
oh, that's the SRO does those at the beginning of the year.
So
we
he was
do
doing that?
presentations and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Was our previous SRO, but this coming year it'll be our new SRO will be doing all that type of stuff.
Okay.
And then I also want to give a shout out. Officer Westfall made the board this month. He had the most citations with 18, and Officer Palomino led the department in arrests with 9. And if anybody has any questions about anything else, it's
No, I don't. Do you guys? All right.
Good evening, Council.
Public Works?
Follow up from a question last week. If you remember right, we had a previous mayor, Haskin, give a wonderful presentation about mosquito and vector. One of the questions came up is, as a city, what can we do to prevent mosquitoes from migrating onto our properties and our parks? It's really hard to do, but one of the things that we're going to make a point to doing is towards the end of March and April, we will look at those property owners adjacent to those orchards with standing waters, make communication with them, kind of let them know some of the things that Mr. Haskell went over, the do's and the don'ts in their yards. We will do the same thing in our park areas, along with some other mitigation as far as maybe some dunks, some of the copper things that have been mentioned in the past, along with just overall reaching out, calling mosquito control district and proactively get them to spray near our parks and certain areas before they get the calls. We'll start making the calls for them, kind of addressing the concern before anybody else sees that. So we will continuously look for ways to improve it. But in the meantime, we will try to get better about what we can do to work with them to prevent those. Also, the mosquito vector has fish that they're able to bring out for people that do have standing waters or things that they can't get rid of that helps with those mosquitoes too. So we will do our best to do our part to make sure that those aren't around as much.
Sounds good. Any questions for Public Works?
Yes, just one. Justin,
Yes.
I don't need to know the exact number, but roughly how many residential customers for water do we have within the city of Escalon?
2,500.
2,500. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing I was noticing, I don't know when or how we can address it, but I was noticing driving back over here today that as you come over the railroad track, there's a part of the main road that's used quite a bit that's kind of breaking apart, where you can't turn right onto California there, I think. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know. I'll definitely go take a look and see.
I don't know if there's anything we can do to
Definitely take a look.
fix that or not.
Mr. Mayor, I actually did have something. I had forgotten about it. The intersection of 4th and Main Street, that's where we put in those, what did you call them?
Curb extensions or bulb outs?
Bulb outs. That was the one. I saw an aerial pilot had flown over and posted a picture of it, from right over the top. And what I noticed was the white line that defines the bike lane.
Mhm.
Why don't we have another white line that defines the vehicle lane? Even if it is kind of like I wish that I had thought to send the picture to Michelle where she could pull it up where you could see what I'm talking about. But as you approach in a car, if you're following a white line,
Right.
which you should be, right? If you follow that white line, you'd run right into that curb.
Mhm.
Could we do something, as you approach on each side of it, to put maybe like a white X and then kind of Y the white line off as you approach it some, just to kind of give a little bit more warning, as you get to it?
Yeah, let me take a look and see, because that seems a little odd as far as.
It was the aerial image
Yeah.
that actually caught my attention and made me go, wait a second, maybe we can do something a little different here. By and large, I looked at those complaints and said, hey, it's a bright yellow curb, just, get around it. It's not that hard. But that aerial, view really gave me a different perspective, especially, if you follow the white line at night, you follow that white line, you will run right into the curb every single time. I wonder if we could put, like I said, kind of like a Y with some, additional, hash marks in it or something of that nature. Just something I wanted to run by you to see if that's something we could
We'll definitely
do to keep the residents from complaining so bad about the design that they really don't care for being installed there. But I think it's a good thing in the area that it was installed. So I'd just like to make it a little better for the residents if we can.
Actually, I have a question for Justin as well. We had any owls show up yet?
So tomorrow or Wednesday is the day. We've got to give it the first 2 weeks before we go disturb. So Wednesday will be the first day we're able to go actually see if we've had any activity or not. So I'll keep you posted.
On your report, can you add another heading that says owl watch? Exactly.
I'm actually surprised that you're expecting activity that quickly. I figured we'd be.
I'm really not, but we need to go check and make sure it's cleaned up in the right there's a little process the first couple months we need to do to make sure that they do come and want to hang out.
He really did do his research, didn't he?
Yeah, I know a little too much about owls.
You're welcome.
That's a good call. We're going to go get a plastic owl and throw it.
So any other questions from Dias for Public Works? City Manager?
Good job. Nothing further.
Any questions from the citizens for our staff? Okay, online? No, all right, we'll bring it back. Go to matters presented from the audience. The public may address the city council on any item that is on the agenda at the time the item is called. The public may also address the city council on an item not on the agenda that is within the subject matter of the city of Escalon. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. Unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. You may state your name and address for the record. However, it is not required due to state law. Action will not be taken on an item that is not on the agenda, and except for brief responses, the council is prohibited from discussing any item not on the agenda. If it requires action, it will be referred to staff and/or placed on a future agenda. The determination of whether an item is within the subject matter of the city is a discretionary decision by the mayor. At this point, any matters from the audience?
Make up for lost time. I'm sorry to do this, especially since it's past my bedtime. I have two things. One is just a statement. I don't need any comments. Roughly 6 years ago, there was a mobile home park here owned by Paddock, and it was Paddock Mobile Home. And just a little background, the senior citizens who live there worked their BOLAs off. They purchase their own mobile homes, and then they rent the land. Their rent at the time, 6 years ago, was $350, which included their water and sewer and garbage. 6 years later, they now pay $1,300. There's over 20 empty trailers. Several have passed. Over half of the park is no longer the original from 6 years ago. Many of them are walking away, and Harmony is benefiting because they've raised the rates so high, and they also pay now their own water, sewer, and garbage on top of it. The rates are so high that they're walking away from their trailers. So then Harmony takes possession of them and sells them, and then charges rent. And so those citizens, we're losing them. We're losing them through health because, you know, when you take that kind of, and I'm going to call it abuse, it is, it's elder abuse, I'm sorry, it is. It affects the health. There's one individual out there right now in their 70s who has cancer for the 3rd time, and they have some stuff on their porch that shouldn't belong there. I'm sorry, they're renting the space and they own their trailer, and they're being told what they can and cannot have. They're back to those tactics. So they're back to your fence must be replaced. You have to take care of the trees on the land that you're renting for $1,300 a month. And if you don't do these things in 2 weeks, we will evict you. So this is how Harmony does business. So please don't ever let them come back into our community. Okay, that was my statement. My other one is different. Now let me go to the other spectrum, from the elderly to the youth. We have a problem. Houston, we have a problem with e-bikes. Okay, there's a lot of kids out there. A couple of them are my grandkids. They know the rules. They know the laws. They do it. And when Softa, grandma, comes down the street and catches them and busts them, and then they do it right. Okay, so a lot of that's parenting. But then there's some that really don't give a rip. And they come up behind the cars. They grab the back of the car and let you pull them, or they come up behind you. And if you were to stop, not seeing, they just come out of the bike lane into the thing, you know, into the lane of traffic. I can't even talk. It's past my bedtime. If I hit my brakes and they hit me and they're a kid on a bike, you know what I'm saying? It's not pretty. And there's 3 and 4 and 5 of them across the street. Now, some of them are good kids, but it's easy because all kids, they all wear black. They all ride the same kind of bikes. You can't really identify them, you know, unless you see them. So I don't know what the answer is, other than maybe suggesting that we come up with some type of regulations for our city, for our area on these bikes. Number one, yes, they need to obey the rules of the bikes lane and stay in the bike lane and wear their helmets. But speed, some of them go really fast, a lot faster than some of the areas. They say 35 miles an hour. I'm sorry, I can't even drive my car 35 miles an hour on some of our streets. You know what I'm saying? It's 25, but these kids are. So, and so, yes, I will volunteer as a citizen to help sit on a committee to help maybe guideline some of these things, provided our lovely attorney over here tells me what, you know, legally where we can go with these things. I don't want to penalize the bike club. You know, we have an adult bike club in the summer, and in the summer when it's hot and they're going down the street, and sometimes there's 6 of them, and they do go down my little mini Sacramento Street the whole way across. But they also observe when cars come, they're very considerate. So I understand with regulations, there's that fine line of, you know, everybody obey the law, but yet we're a small community, and you sometimes we ride 3 and 4 across in the road. I get that. But kids on the e-bikes, I think we need some more guidelines and maybe some education in the schools and things going out, you know, in our newsletter to the parents after we come up with some guidelines. I don't know what the answers are, but we do have a problem. Okay. And they're darting out into traffic, not just, sorry, is that me? Not just residential, but they're darting out across McHenry, Escalon, Belota. They're darting out in front of the schools. They're darting out across 120. So I'm watching it more and more and more.
We'll definitely take that advisement and figure it out for you. Appreciate the input on that.
And Mr. Mayor, can we get a response from Chief on that? Because I think we've looked at that a little bit, and I see what other jurisdictions are doing. But do you have any advice or comment on what's happening with the e-bikes?
So e-bikes are they're vehicles, so they have to follow the rules of the road. They're not allowed on the sidewalks. They either have to be in a bike lane or in the lane of travel and follow all the rules of the road. the e-bikes that are legal for kids to ride should not be able to go over 20 miles per hour. They should be capped. They have wattage limitations and then speed limitations. There are legal ones that can go up to 28 miles per hour. However, for those, you need a license or a permit. Actually, I think you need the actual driver's license to drive those. So they should not be driving those unless they're over the age of 16 and possess a valid driver's license. Our officers do try to do enforcement as best they can. We really cracked down last year at the beginning of the school year, and that really helped kind of calm the problem. It's becoming an issue again, so I think it's going to be time for stepping up enforcement and towing some more kids' bikes, and then the message spreads, and they generally.
Well, I like what you said about towing. I think we're seeing that in our other local jurisdictions, right? Impounds. We're seeing a lot, and don't get me wrong, like I don't want to be a party pooper. If I was, 12 years old, I'd want the fastest one too, and I would probably be smashing it around town. But there is just so much of it at once that there is a hazard. More importantly for them, at 12 years old, I didn't know any better either, and I might have been tailgating a car or cutting in and out of traffic, and enforcement of that may very well save one of those kids' lives.
Yes,
so.
and I believe last year Harrison only towed 2 of them, and message spread like wildfire, and they stopped.
So just for the Sherry's information and the community's information, learned this today, just this morning on a conference call, that there's a push at the state level to consider working in the adoption of e-bike regulations and licensing with the California DMV. So there was a bill that was presented. It died in committee this year, but there's talk that it's going to be brought back at the next legislative session, and really trying to figure out how to provide enforcement efforts, greater enforcement efforts with the California Vehicle Code, specifically related to e-bikes.
All right. Any other questions before we go to public hearings?
Just a quick thank you, Justin, for taking care of that stuff, because prevention's the biggest key to this mosquito outbreak that we have. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Haskin. Okay, anything online?
No hands raised.
All right, back to dais. You guys okay if I go to public hearings?
Mr. Mayor, if I could get a minute
Yeah,
so that
go
I
for it.
can have a quick bathroom break, that would be
Oh, yeah.
maybe
No,
a
you
short
got-
recess, like
gonna hold that.
2 or 3 minutes here.
I'm glad she asked because I was going to.
All right, great. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Sorry. All right, well, let's try to bang this out, guys. Try to keep everything to a minimum ideally, unless it's important. Let's go. All right. Public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the notice public hearing to adopt updated adult softball and adult soccer fees and incorporate them into the master fee schedule. As you might recall, this item has come before the council and before that, the Rec Commission, a few times in our effort to provide transparency and additional analysis for council's consideration of these fees. We've done a lot to explore them, explore their impact on the participants, and come back and follow up and provide the input on surveys and analysis to the council. We came back on March 16th with more information, comparing it to other programs, and April 20th to come back and explore the survey with the participants. At that time, City Council directed us to move forward with the public hearing. So we're here tonight with the substantially similar staff report with some a few of the items updated based on the cost that we know about, and we're now presenting it for your consideration. Again, just to summarize for the public that have not been participating or might be listening, the adult softball fees are proposed to be the same as the newly established adult soccer fee and the newly established adult soccer program, from $525 to $850 per team. This would create a new adult sports category, so it wouldn't just be adult softball anymore, as reflected on the master fee schedule. The fee increase reflects the city's direct program costs of about $683 per team, plus a modest contribution toward field maintenance. Adult sports currently operate about 30% below cost, contributing to the $340,000 annual gap between recreation revenues and field maintenance needs. We have some regional comparisons in there of what that breaks down to on a per player basis and on a per hour of recreation. And survey results show participants value the social experience and the local convenience more than the low cost, suggesting fee sensitivity is limited. So with my recap of the staff report, I'm happy to leave this there for any questions that you might have on this update.
And I will just add, this item in particular, and similar items are part of staff's thorough review of fiscal stability, right, which is one of the strategic plans adopted by the council, especially as it pertains to cost recovery. We may have different opinions on fees for various programs, community fees, that type of thing. But this management staff, have made a diligent effort to go through the budget, to go through our investments, to look at our liabilities, our loans, anything that is making the city less fiscally stable. And therefore, we think it's our role to bring these before the deliberative body. And so that's what this item is.
Yeah, I feel after that last meeting, pretty comfortable with where we're at. I don't really have any other questions. Does anyone else?
Just have a comment, and the comment is I really appreciate staff polling the teams, getting the information the council wanted to provide as much information as possible for us to make an informed decision. So kudos to you, Trevin.
Any input from the citizens, from the citizen? No? Anyone online? All right. Back to the dais. Any last thoughts before we move forward?
Yeah, just a quick thought. Thanks for doing all the additional work, because we up here had to argue about it to bring it back a second time to land exactly where we were in the first place.
Yep. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, I was thinking that. The extra effort.
On that note, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution XX26, adopting the updated fees and amending the master fee schedule to include an increase to the adult softball team fee from $525 to $850, establishment of the adult soccer program with a team fee of $850, incorporation of these fees into the city's master fee schedule under a new category for adult sports.
I will second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
4-1. Okay. We'll go on to number 13.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item is an amendment to a development impact fee deferral and reduction agreement with Countrywood Cottages Senior Housing Project. You might recall this item coming before you about a year and a half ago to explore the senior housing development entitled Countrywood Cottages Senior Housing Project. In that original development the fee deferral and reduction agreement, there was a stipulation that the initial rent would be capped at $1,600 per residential unit. And that was an important stipulation for council. And the developer agreed to that fully with eyes wide open, knowing that that would be important for the community. Because of continued price pressure from the housing market and from tariffs, it's hard to rely on supplies. So the developer has not been able to successfully launch this project. With that said, they have applied for a program with San Joaquin County Council of Governments that would provide the additional funding needed to get this development started and initiated. So staff helped with that application to bring senior housing to Escalon and bring that grant money to this developer. With that said, they anticipate being able to start either at the end of this year or early next year if they receive that grant money. And as they applied for that grant money, they had to disclose what their books looked like, what the cost of development looked like. And through that exercise, the developer did the math and realized that since it's been a few years since this development agreement was initiated with that cap of $1,600, they would no longer be able to make the project pencil because the rent would be too low. So the developer has requested that the city consider amending that initial rent cap from $1,600 to $1,700 for the first 24 months of occupancy. All other terms of the agreement remain unchanged. The 5% annual rent increase cap is for the first 60 months. The senior preference is still a requirement. There's still an Escalon residence preference provision, and the fee reductions and 4-year deferral schedule still in place. Again, those only start with building permits, so they haven't been launched yet. The adjustment is needed because the project timeline shifted from a 2023 to 2024 opening to a 2027, 2028 opening. And so there's updated financing showing 1,600 is no longer feasible. Importantly, had the project open on schedule, the agreement's own 5% annual escalation would have allowed rents above $1,700 by 2027, which is when the project is now planning to start to be open. So the updated cap to $1,700 is still below what would have been permitted by the original agreement. So with that staff report, happy to answer any questions from council on this item.
Quick question, Ed. There was an area here where you talked about deferring the impact fees and stuff. Will you scroll that real quick? There's, Mayor Haskin had a question that I was gonna ask for him since he's not here.
I think you were just there.
Do you happen to know what page it was on?
No, page it's on. It just talked about impact fees
176.
on 76. Oh, here we go. See here.
The staff report of the agreement.
Down here, right here. The agreement is for $458,518. he was concerned that didn't take into consideration interest over that period of time. Is that correct, or is that not? Not, okay.
It's not my understanding.
Yeah, that's what he was asking. Okay.
He's already has that deal. He's just asking for the rent cap to go from 1,600 to 1,700. But recall that the city, in exchange for that, deferred those impact fees.
Okay. All right, that's the only question I had.
And so just looking at some rough numbers, this is roughly a 5% increase. And so typically I just verified it on my device, but construction costs go up between 3.1 and 3.5% annually, which over the course of 3 years is roughly 10+%. So I don't think he's asking for an exorbitant amount of money for the increase of 5% over 3 years.
Any other questions up here?
Just a quick comment. I did ask the question at the last COG meeting in regards to the grant, and I asked specifically about the requirements for funding, and hearing and knowing your input on that, helping prepare the application. From what I could see in the way that the requirements were explained, you did a fantastic job and made sure to check all the boxes, and I did not see any reason why that project would not qualify ahead of several others. So just in the process or in the preparation of that, good job. You put the applicant and us in an excellent position to be successful there.
Good work, Travis.
My pleasure.
Any questions from the audience? No? Back to the online? Anyone online?
No, there's one person
Oh,
online.
okay.
No hands raised right now.
All right. Back to the dais. All right, we'll take a humor vote.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. All right. Number 14.
Thank you, Mayor. This next item is for consideration of the grant agreements for businesses recommended by the Economic Development Committee through the Business Incentive Program. This item directly advances the city's strategic plan priority number 1 for economic development. And tonight we have the second cohort of new and expanding business grant proposals, which includes Party Shed, Sensory Dough by Kelsey, Tacos de Nieve, and Marcos Ristorante Italiano, as recommended by the Economic Development Committee. These awards come from, I already mentioned that, sorry. The program began, I'll just do a recap of the funding for council and for the community. The program began with $60,000 in total funding. This was the $40,000 city allocation that you see in the, as part of the Measure P allocation, and then an additional $20,000 Oak Valley Community Bank partnership from their community reinvestment funds. The first round awarded $38,800 to a cohort of businesses, with $21,200 remaining in the second cycle. During the second cycle, we received a lot of requests for grant, a lot of proposals. A lot of businesses are making investments in Escalon. This is really important. This is what we wanted to see out of the grant, is to induce extra investments in growing and expanding businesses in Escalon. But the demand far exceeded the remaining funds in this cycle. So the Economic Development Committee prioritized the smaller, tightly scoped requests that could be implemented quickly and deliver immediate community benefits, such as retained jobs or more investment in Escalon. The larger requests were deferred to future cycles when or if funding becomes available. The Economic Development Committee reviewed all the eligible applications and recommended the awards totaling $21,200. Happy to go over the details of each proposed business if you'd like, or if you have any questions. All of the agreements include standard conditions, same as last round, with 6, 12, 24-month intervals of reporting and verification of use of funds. We'll be tracking use of funds in low-income census tracts for applicability with Oak Valley's grant, and doing everything we can to maintain that partnership. The recommended awards advance council's economic development priorities. They leverage the private investment from not just Oak Valley Bank, but also the businesses themselves. and also strengthen Escalon's small business ecosystem. And so with that, staff recommends approving the grant agreements with the named businesses and authorizing the city manager to execute those agreements.
I don't have any questions. Anyone else?
Overall comment?
Yep.
Speaking as a member of the Economic Development Committee, I would like to publicly thank Trevin and your leadership with this grant program, the businesses that applied, the businesses that were successful, and I'm not speaking for all the Economic Development Committee members. Speaking on behalf of myself, I would really strongly counsel to consider refunding this grant opportunity in the budget for FY 26-27 because it was a resounding success.
I do have a question. So I see two of these requests were rather large, and there's a rather large delta in what the request was and what we're providing, namely the tacos and Marco's Restaurante. Have those applicants, have we talked to those to make sure that they'll be able to cover the delta and move forward, so that we're not just giving it to hold, right? So have we talked to those applicants?
Those are all questions that we ask during the process and make sure that we aren't throwing money on the ground.
Okay.
So to your question, Mayor Pro Tem, the delta, if you look at the screen in front of us, the delta for Tacos de Neve, she wanted 20,000. We're recommending 9,750. The reason that we're recommending 9,750 is because with this 9,750, she can get a loan for the truck that she wants to purchase. And so this is covering the down payment to get to in order for her to guarantee a loan.
Gotcha.
And to give Trevin some more kudos on that one specifically, he actually helped her get says it right here, required to access the San Joaquin revolving loan fund. So this is actually through the county, and I believe it's low or no interest, right?
Subsidized interest.
Yeah, subsidized interest. So another great job by Trevin on this thing. Each one of those deltas, essentially, as we deliberated and discussed these in the Economic Development Committee, with each one of them, and I could speak to each of them individually, but I'll just kind of give you a blanket statement of we kind of wanted to make sure that each one of them still had some skin in the game. That we were covering the bulk of a major cost for them, but they were still going to need to invest something on their own. But we made that minimal for most of them, with Marco's being the exception there.
Any other questions up here? Out in the audience, questions? Online? Back to the dais? Any questions?
I'll move to approve the business grant opportunities as presented by staff.
We'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, and number 15.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll take this one. This is to bring back an item. There was a discrepancy in what the staff report indicated in terms of a fiscal impact when discussing renaming Dinosaur Park to Danny Fox Memorial Park. Excuse me. Staff had indicated that there would be no fiscal impact, or that renaming the park didn't have a fiscal impact, to be more precise. As we began discussing the renaming and the dedication efforts, we looked back at what we had done most recently with Sketty and then Large Field. And the city had provided a plaque for both of those fields. And so we had indicated with the family and others that, we would probably do something similar. And so there was a discrepancy, what we had planned to do and what was stated in the staff report. So we wanted to bring this item back in full transparency of taxpayer dollars, so that the council could weigh in on any type of position and maybe set positions moving forward, and specifically weigh in on this matter if desired.
It seems like being consistent it would be key. So if we've been the precedent's been set, and we've been doing that in the past, and we should do that moving forward, in my opinion. But I don't know, does everyone else, how do they feel with the dais? about this?
Yes, some parameters need to be set. So I see there's a request for a larger sign. I think parameters need to be set for that as well. I don't think that's anything that could be decided at this meeting. I think I need more information, and I need clear direction on what a standard would look like for everyone moving forward.
I think that's fair enough.
I mean, it should be just standard all the way around. There are, parks, potential future parks. There's some stuff going on out at Hogan. There may be some field dedications. If we have the ability to make everything the same.
Well, is this what we spent last time?
Yeah, and so just to, and I know it's kind of in the staff report, but the Largent field plaque ended up being about $1,000, and we said we would do about that range. The family has requested a larger sign, and they will pay the delta between that amount, whatever's chosen here, and the sign.
So just point of clarification. You spend $1,000 on Sketty sign, spend roughly $1,000 for Largent sign. And what this item is saying is that the city will cover $1,000 towards this sign. And then if the family chooses a bigger sign, then they cover the delta, but then we're consistent across the board, $1,000, $1,000, $1,000.
All that is correct, but just one nuance. Sketty sign was some years ago. I don't know if it was $1,000, but it's a very similar sign as the Largent. So I can't speak to the price of the Sketty field sign, but similar in scope to.
Well, I think both of the council members bring up good points. I feel comfortable personally voting for this to just get it put out there at the same price, since we're not having any kind of a difference. But I think Councilmember Engel's right when we talk about having to set parameters in the future for such a situation, so that we don't, obviously cost on things will change over time, all that kind of stuff. And we want to make sure that, we're not showing favoritism to one individual versus another. So I think I would feel fine spending up to $1,000, because that's where our floor or ceiling, whatever you want to call it, has been. But I think we should at some point bring it back to the council, is my opinion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you read, it says, if we decide to approve this, then we could also set the direction for all future renamings. So I think
that's what I'm getting at.
Right, and so we make a motion to say that moving by this item, we're authorizing the approval of $1,000, and $1,000 is kind of the cap at this point.
Well, I'm fine with some of that language, but I think we need to research it a little bit more, in my opinion, from like Councilmember Engel saying, we need to have some parameters as to why we went with 1,000, I think, probably because that was what it roughly cost for a decent sign. But I'm assuming we need to have some parameters on the type of sign we're looking at. And, say if that sign ends up becoming extremely expensive in the future because it's a standardized bronze sign, and now bronze becomes, more rare, even though it's not, right? Hypothetically.
Without a clearly defined size, what's to stop somebody from saying, well, I want to put up a billboard size sign?
Yeah, so we have to have parameters, I guess is what I'm saying is, I feel comfortable with this currently, but then setting a parameter, setting some, hard parameters moving forward.
So setting a city standard for a particular sign.
Or a policy or something on.
Just, it's like Councilman Engel saying, roughly what size is probably important. Like, we don't want to have something the size of a building, that kind of, some basic parameters I think are definitely warranted. I don't know.
I like to be careful. Everything is going to end up coming to the council. So the parameters are that the council is going to consider regardless. So I just like to be careful setting too many rules and whatnot so that they do come to council and we do get to consider those things.
And just to that point, council direction could be bring back whatever dedication effort is going to happen at each naming.
That's
So
fine.
The council could set it on a case-by-case basis is one option, but it doesn't give you that consistency perhaps.
Well, I just want it to be a situation when you're not showing favoritism towards, hey, I like that guy better, so I want his sign bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be some degree of consistency there, whatever that looks like, you know?
Mr. Mayor, on that note, I'd like to chime in here. Favoritism is probably a good place for my opinion on this. And I'm definitely the odd man out at this dais on this subject. And I'm, happy to admit that. I want to be very, very clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Fox, former mayor, city council member, police officer, has absolutely nothing to do with him. I have had a long held belief that cities, government agencies in general should not be honoring individuals. As a young kid, I don't even think that I was a teenager yet. I remember going to Golden Gate Park and seeing Nancy Pelosi Way. All these signs that say Nancy Pelosi Way. How much did all of those signs cost the taxpayers to name that road after Nancy Pelosi? And you can go all over the place, and you've seen what happened with the Cesar Chavez thing recently, where now they're tearing down these signs that they spent all these taxpayer dollars on, and we are the only people that are legally allowed to take someone's money, essentially at gunpoint, and when we take that and we use it for purposes like this, where essentially it is personal relationships, personal beliefs, what we think that they did that was great, what we think that they did that was wrong, and I'll use one that's actually near and dear to my heart. Charlie Kirk is currently having a road named after him in a town in Florida. Those taxpayers, how many of those taxpayers absolutely hated that man and were happy to see him be assassinated? But we're taking their money and we're renaming a street after him. This is something that I just have a personal belief again, and I abstained from the previous vote and didn't, say anything about. And essentially, it was because no fiscal impact. This isn't costing us anything. I guess that my ignorance was I assumed that the family, the people that brought it forth, as an agenda item, that they were, fundraising, crowdfunding, whatever the case was, and they were going to be financing it privately, not using taxpayer dollars for it. Now that I know that this is something that taxpayer dollars are going to be spent on, I just feel like I have a responsibility to, speak my truth, that is something that I see all over the place. And I go, why are we spending money on this when we're taking money from everyone so that a select group is honoring a person? And again, this has absolutely nothing to do with Danny Fox. It is a long held belief, but I just felt that I needed to, if nothing else, speak my piece. I know the way that this vote's going to go, but I still felt that I needed to, still be honest to who I am and true to my belief, and stand up for what I believe in there. And that's definitely something that, I like I said, we are the only people that legally are allowed to take people's money and use it as we will. And it's one of those things where a personal relationship, a personal opinion has really guided, and in all of these instances, and there's a lot of good men that we just mentioned up here, and with each one of them, did they have detractors? And did their detractors get to chip in on their memorial sign against their will? So that's all I have to say about the subject.
Well, I respect your position. That I think in this particular situation, we've already voted on this item.
And a long-held precedence as well.
Yep, and the precedence is there. So I think, in my opinion, I'm fine with that. Now, if we wanted to reevaluate how we do things in the future, I think that's a valid point, valid thought for sure. But at least where we're at with this currently, I think I feel comfortable with at least seeing it through. So that's my opinion. But anyone else have any thoughts before we got to the citizens?
So my thought, the $1,000 to start, and then if anybody wants to donate, they can donate more. I do think that we should consider what the sign size is before putting it out there. So if no matter what someone else wants to contribute, like I think it was Councilor Engel said, we're not going to put a billboard out there. So if someone wants to contribute 50 grand and put a big old sign, we're not gonna just say, okay, we put the 1,000 and you put the 50. So I do think the sign and what that rendering, especially when it comes from a personal citizen, we should consider it for the public park. Just make sure there's not too much maintenance involved as well. I know Sanchez Park has a monument and it's a water fountain and it probably has maintenance costs involved with it. So we should probably, the 1,000's a great start, but the signage itself should probably be considered by staff or council.
Standardization for sure, because the city needs to have some input as to what verbiage can be put on that sign.
Yeah.
It can't be just free to put, whatever religious or political or social belief that you have on a sign and say, here it is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I would 100% agree with that. I think, so I think my thought would be allow for the sign to go forward as we decided and create some important parameters for the future.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something? So myself and Mayor Pro Tem Walker brought this item before council. I just would wish to publicly say that I appreciate staff bringing this back to council in the name of full transparency and owning up to it. And I totally respect and understand the position of Councilmember Engel and Councilmember Kay. I mean, we may disagree on some things, but I can appreciate the sentiment about renaming things. So thanks for speaking up. With that, I would like to move to.
I need to ask, so
sorry.
Yeah, excuse me. Sherry, you want to say anything?
Regardless of who it is, I'm right there. It has nothing to do with what you've already voted on. It's a precedent that
Online, anything?
no hands raised.
Back to the dais?
Yeah, I have one thing, Mr. Mayor. I'll just say out there, please pay attention to how this council votes, that if they're in favor of it, it's okay to have an exception for them and people they want to do things for. But if they have an opportunity to adjust those rules right now, that they don't want to do that. Please make your motion.
All right. Make a motion?
Yeah, I will move to approve the spending of $1,000 towards the plaque for the Danny Fox Memorial Park. And also in that motion, request that the staff come back to the council for a city standard on the design of a park sign moving forward.
Okay. Do you have any second on that? No second?
Wait, do you mean a standard or a rendering of this particular sign? What is the
I heard just like essentially a policy.
policy?
A standard, because, so let me explain my motion. My motion is to avoid the billboards and coming up with that standard that was talked about moving forward, to avoid somebody plastering a billboard or plastering.
I hear what you're saying.
Something that's not
Is
tasteful.
that an application to this sign or to future signs? Because I was under the impression that
I'd say
it was for
both.
future signs.
To this sign and all future signs.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Do we have a second on that? No second? Okay, bring it back. Do we want to reconsider the conversation?
We can make it, someone can make another motion or
Make another
disguise for lack of.
Sorry, make a motion.
Nothing gets
Is
approved.
there any other motions that would like to be made?
I'll make a motion to contribute $1,000 to the Danny Fox Memorial Park sign, and for all future park signs to come back to council for consideration No, hold on. And yeah, for consideration, before before going out.
Okay, so like translation, you're looking for a policy?
No, I'm not. Hold on.
No. She made a motion that had two components: approval of this sign for a contribution of $1,000, and for future signs, it comes to the council.
Can
for
I amend it right
pre-approval.
now? Can I go back
Okay.
and say, no, that's not what I meant?
Okay, what's the,
$1,000. And for this particular sign to come back to council for approval before its development and posting.
okay,
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
All right. 3-2. All right, go to 16. I think that was yours, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is 10:15 at night. So the reason that I brought this before council is there anything we would like to do as a community, as the city, as council to recognize 250th years of the United States on the 4th of July? So the research that I've done, there are some communities that are doing drone shows. There's some communities that are doing full-blown fireworks. People are doing art walls with elementary schools. Folks are planting a tree. Some people are just placing a plaque to offer. I mean, really, it's just to spur the conversation and get feedback from council. And if the decision of the council is we're not going to do anything, then so be it. But I just figured I would bring this before council and we could talk about it.
So, any
It's
thoughts
hard.
up here?
I would just say this, it's hard to come up with an idea on the spot like this. One thing the council could also consider is an ad hoc committee to look into this if there was enough interest or if there were a lot of different ideas, because we're not going to be able to probably figure all this out tonight.
Well, I'm not against doing something that is patriotic. I think maybe we do the ad hoc thing, then I don't know. I think that's a pretty good idea to figure out, because otherwise we could sit up here for a long time debating over, is it a tree, is it a drone, is it whatever? So you're probably right, Frank. I think that's not a bad thought. Does anyone have a problem with that up here? If we put an ad hoc together and have them deal with it?
No, I have no problem with that. I wish it was earlier in the timeline of things because we're coming up pretty quick on this thing.
Well, you can appoint an ad hoc now.
Okay.
You can do that. This was to provide direction. The ad hoc can't bind the city and make a final decision. The ad hoc will just come back to the council and report on what its recommendation is.
We can plant a tree pretty quick, but.
Yeah, I know a guy.
I mean, it doesn't have to be this long
Yeah.
thing too. It could be as early as the next meeting.
Okay.
Maybe the ad hoc just needs to meet and have an hour or two to discuss some ideas and bring that to council.
Any thoughts from Sherry? Online?
So many out of the kitty. Don't get me wrong, I'm not cheap on our country. It's just, you know, has to, we put a lot of talent.
What year is the?
I'm probably as patriotic as most people, but
Thanks for the input on that, Chair. Online?
No.
Back to Dias. Well, I'd say I'm good with an ad hoc to see what they come up with. And if it's something crazy town, then we don't do it, you know, kind of thing.
I'll just put out that my concern is the timeline of things. We have 2 meetings before the 4th of July. If we wanted to make this for the 4th of July, which means we come back with an idea at the next one, but then we have to get it approved, right? And then maybe a budget approved, and it's going to take a meeting. So
That could all happen in one meeting though.
great. All right.
All right, well, let's just do that then. If everyone's okay with an ad hoc, then let's do an ad hoc.
Yeah. I'll also say if it was a drone show or fireworks, of course, it'd need to be by the 4th. It really is celebrating the 250th year.
Right.
And so it may be ideal to be before or around the 4th, but it doesn't necessarily have to be if it was something physical in nature.
Yeah. So how do we do this here, Frank?
Just see who wants to be on the ad hoc and hopefully we can get consensus.
Sean wants to be on the
assuming
ad hoc.
Sean wants to. That's his idea.
I'll throw some ideas together and I guess feedback.
I'm okay not being on it. I don't have a lot of time to do that extra stuff.
I don't mind volunteering if nobody else wants to volunteer.
Okay.
I'm on it.
You want to do it?
I love the country, but I'm going to sit this one out.
All right.
What about you, Mr. Engel?
Yeah,
Councilman Engel?
at this short time frame, man, I don't.
Okay, then you two, give us something to
Discuss.
think about. Okay. All right, go to council communications now, right? Or do we have to vote for that at all?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
So council communications, Councilman Kay.
Well, my first item I already addressed with Justin, and I'm going to show you a picture of what I'm talking about before I leave here, so you get a better idea of my craziness that I'm talking about. I really appreciated getting to shoot with the chief on Sunday morning. Wish more of the officers had been there. You know, quality bonding time with your police officers is always a nice thing, but I really appreciate you having me out there. And next time you guys are out there, I'll bring my pistol and maybe run the course. So please invite me again. So Linda, great to see you back and healthy. Really, really happy to see how well you're doing. I would, I want to be careful how I verbalize this. I would like to get council consensus for us to have a discussion about the e-bike issue here in this town. I don't know that regulation is necessarily what I want to be the guy standing up here saying, but there's definitely a problem. Sherry is nowhere near the first person that has brought this up, the danger. I see it every day, again, in and out of the school zones over and over again. They're in and out of parking lots. Someone's going to get hurt. And the scary thing as just being a regular citizen is, okay, they run out in front of me and I run them over. Now their family's going to turn around and sue me for it. We've got to do something. And I don't know what the right answer is.
I would support you on that.
I feel like, we need to have a discussion about what it is that we need to do as a community to kind of curb some of the stuff that's going on in our streets with these e-bikes.
I think and under the premise of the council is not overreaching by government. We're trying to protect our kids.
Yeah, that's it. Kids and citizens, and riding down the sidewalks and, knocking over, an elderly person that's out on a walk, that sort of thing. So I appreciate the consensus and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All righty then, we'll move to Mr. Stroman or Councilman Stroman.
Sure, I'll keep it brief. Trevin, thanks again for inviting Goldbacks. I really like that idea. Similar to what Councilmember Kay mentioned, Celinda, welcome back. It's good to have you back here. Don't let your boss stress you out and have to go through that again. If he does, let us know. For the chief, keep it up. And for those of you that don't know, this is National Public Works Week. And so I would like to publicly call out Justin and all your leadership, as well as Jake and Matt, Luis, John, Joe, and Sal. You guys are truly a heartbeat of what makes the city of Escalon great. And so thank you for all of your hard work. We never hear much from the guys. We always see you, but appreciate all of your hard work. So happy Public Works Week to you and the crew. I just not going to belabor this point, but as a point of order, to the Measure P committee, if my tone or the way that I was approaching the discussion earlier was one of out of spite or as Councilmember Engel noted, I may have been given the appearance that I was disrespectful. It wasn't my approach. And so if the Measure P committee members took it that way, I would like to publicly apologize. My point is this. While I understand Mr. Alves being frustrated and Ms. Vargas being frustrated, it sounds to me like there's a breakdown in communication somewhere. I don't know if they're not communicating with staff is not communicating with them, if council's not communicating. So I'm just want to see where we have that breakdown in communication. As I noted publicly with Ms. Vargas, they came to us with a multitude of ideas, their first presentation, and I really appreciated them coming to us with all those ideas. I think it's important as we, as the council, get back to them as a response back to all of their ideas. And if some just aren't feasible, then we just tell them these aren't feasible, or we require additional direction because they're frustrated because they're not getting the information. And I let some of my frustration show because the one thing that this council has stressed over and over and over again, and I think Celinda has done an incredible job, is increasing greater transparency and being able to figure out where those dollars are. Can we control what happened with audits in 1999? No, we can't. But we can sure as hell show where those dollars are today. And that's what this council has tried so hard to do, and we will continue to try to do. I think all of us share that same sentiment. So staff, appreciate all of your hard work. Measure P committee, we're here to help you. We're here to support you. We see your frustration, but let's figure this out together. That's all I have to say.
Councilman Engel?
Yeah, just a reminder that the farmers market hosted by the Escalon Lions Club coming up here. So hopefully everybody can make it out to that. There was, I think, tremendous feedback that the citizens liked it in the street instead of on the grass. Got all that new grass. What are we going to do with it there?
We don't until summertime.
Wait till it's 100.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I thought it was a great success. Lots of positive feedback. Way to go for being quick on your feet and making quick adjustments to be able to still make that happen and still be a success. So it's greatly appreciated. And hopefully there's a great turnout out there and everybody has a good time. And I think that's all I have to say now.
Pro Tem?
Okay. Yeah, second that. So come on out to the farmer's market on Wednesday and come see your neighbors and do business in Escalon. Thanks to Measure P for their presentation today and the numbers run. By the way, welcome back, Celinda. Got to see the numbers as well with the Measure P. And if I was to look at the data, I mean, as much as I like that it's up, it may or may not be up because gas prices are up. And I'd much rather see gas prices come down, even though there would be that adjustment. So just saying, when you look at those numbers and where we're up, do we want that? I mean, it may be up, it may be down. And honestly, I'm hoping the gas prices come down for our citizens too. So that's just going to be the result of that. But as well, but the tax was down as well, which means we're not spending enough money in Escalon, that base tax. So make sure that you're spending money, keep that money in Escalon on that base tax that we're getting as well. So yeah, come out to the farmers market, Main Street, and do as much business as you can to keep it local. Because when you spend it local, then those people are spending it right here in town again, and just keep it here. On that, thank you for having Goldbacks come out. I am very excited to invest in this. I am an econ nerd. If you're not aware of my background, I probably know. I took a college course on the history of currency. So I probably know a little bit about this, and it is very intimidating to invest in gold when you don't know how to offload it, when it's time to offload it, and it's just sitting in your closet. This gives me hope and potential for not only Escalon residents, there are 4 businesses here that you actually can unload and spend it with, but it gives me very much hope for our currencies and the options that people have for their spending and their currencies. And I encourage people to look into it. I'll be looking into it myself. Before we're back, we will have Escalon High School graduation. So congratulations to the class of 2026. Please be careful out there. You'll see, the kids will be released from the institution for the summer. So be careful on those e-bikes. I look forward to the discussion so that we can keep our kids safe and our citizens safe. And I have some ideas on that, so I look forward to that discussion as well. And I think that's my rant for today. So thank you.
I had a few things I wanted to see if I can get some consensus on moving forward. One was looking at digital surveillance protections for our citizens. I think moving forward, there's the potential for this digital surveillance to be abused. And even though I trust Chief with his flock system outside the city, I don't think we need to have one on every corner. So I think if I could get consensus on it, I'd like to address
Glad to
that.
give you my consensus on that.
Okay.
What is it that you're looking to come back though?
Specifically, I want to look at whether we do a discussion initially or not.
Okay.
Or not, but specifically, I'm concerned about the use of digital surveillance that gets to a point where it's invading our personal privacy.
Okay.
I think flock cameras are popular things that you see, but it's a very slippery slope from having a camera outside of town that you can look at, who's coming through the town and getting license plates. It can all of a sudden, go into now we're using everyone's Ring cameras on at will to look at whatever we want to look at, putting cameras on every corner, there's a point at which.
Sorry, I just meant, what is it that you want? It sounds like you just want to have a discussion first.
Yeah, discussion
Okay,
on this.
That's
stuff.
all I need.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Apologize. Didn't
No problem.
understand. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
The other is the idea of protecting citizens' rights to grow their own food at their home. I want to make sure that that's ingrained in our ordinances because it's very easy to, if someone's starving and all of a sudden the city says, well, you can't garden in your front yard or whatever, that kind of stuff to me is unacceptable. I think that it's your private property. You can do whatever you want to do on it, with the exception of a meth lab or something, right? So I was hoping I could get maybe another discussion on that.
I will lend consensus for that.
Okay, and then the other was regarding data centers. You can see there's been a big displacement of people and misallocation of water used to keep these data centers going. And I think that if there's ever going to be a data center in Escalon, it needs to be put on the ballot for a public vote. I don't think that they should be able to come in here and just drop their anchor, so to speak, without public opinion on it. So I was hoping on that to maybe get consensus to have a ordinance that says, if this was ever to come to our town, it would be put on a ballot for public conversation.
You have my consensus.
Okay. And then the last one, I know seems to be a contentious issue, but it's something I think that we need to get to the root of either explaining better or understanding it better, is this whole water enterprise thing. I don't think anyone's doing anything nefarious. I don't think that's the case, but I do think that there is some sort of miscommunication on it that is between our board, our board and the other board. And I think that to maintain good, healthy relations, so to speak, I think we need to bring it back for some sort of a history lesson on it. As much as I know that would pain Celinda to have to pull this stuff up, I think it's important we kind of understand the history of what happened so that we can lay all this stuff to rest. So there's no rumors that are happening or problems maybe that maybe we do uncover a problem and go, oh, there's your issue. Whatever it is, we need to figure it out.
I will give you consensus number 3 as long as you don't have an item number 5.
I don't. My item number 5 is to end this meeting. Okay.